going out every day, you have different circumstances. Weather changes, you got different groups of people. Tournaments change frequently, so it's keeping it fresh. Every day is a new day on the water for me. Seeing the sunrise is awesome every morning, you know, when we do have sun. So just seeing that's like, I know why I'm here. I've been doing this for 30 years as a charter captain. Been fishing probably about 35 or 36 years as far as trolling, but 30 years as a captain. It was the fish, the boat, it was the whole scene, you know. When I was out with my dad in the late 70s, we'd be pulling in our boat. We had like a 19-foot boat, and we'd be going by the guys who were just returning from coho salmon fishing trips, you know, the charter boat guys. And we'd see, you know, these coho, nice silver coho salmon being lined up, people taking pictures. So I used to see those cohos lined up from the guys, and it was like, I kind of want to do that. You know, it'd be cool to catch these fish and take people out. Trait that really drives me is to want to succeed, you know, do better than the other guys, you know, 9 out of 10 days. So I think that really drives me. It drives me to fish harder, it drives me to try new techniques, stick with it. So I think it's really, for me, it's competition. You know, having happy customers day in and day out is a really good thing. You know, having a lot of smiles, having people catch fish and feel like they had a successful day on the water. I mean, you know, they're great memories. I consider myself a pretty aggressive fisherman. You know, deploy rods quick, get as many rods in as fast as you can. You catch a fish, try and redeploy rods, but not make it a competition where people don't enjoy it or they're feeling hurried. Techniques have definitely changed from, you know, 25 or 30 years ago with the, you know, the planer boards. A lot of electronics have changed. You know, the fish hawk has really helped fishermen. So those are a few examples. The chart plotters and the, you know, the whole technology thing has really helped everybody's game. But at the end of the day, it's still fishing. I mean, it's still a lot of basic things, finding fish, staying on fish, and getting those fish to bite, really basic things. I like salmon and trout fishing the best. Lake trout fishing's fun. You know, they're a trout species. King salmon up on Lake Ontario, challenging fish, very challenging lake. It's deep water. When you find deep water, cold water, you know, every little wind change makes the water change, which makes the fish change. So I think that for me is more of a challenge, you know, trying to deal with conditions, changing conditions, staying on fish, and then catching the fish ultimately. I think for me, I fish the best when I'm really organized. I got my gear labeled, I got my tackle boxes refined where all my baits are. I've got everything set up where I know if I got a hot bait, I know where to get it. I'm a terrible fisherman when my boat's a mess and I can't find things. So for me, part of my success, or what makes me a better angler, is mentally just being prepared and organized, day in and day out.
Pete's one of the young guys that he don't forget. He remembers every little thing, and he'll pick your brain. I'm honored to have him as my friend.
When I tie up for the last time, what is next? Probably hanging out with the grandkids an awful lot, I guess. And hopefully maybe doing some writing. Kind of into the photography and video thing a little bit, so those few things pique my interest right now. So when the last knot is done and over with, look for me there.
What's your favorite thing to do with your
The nicest thing about fishing with my dad is that I know he's one of the, you know, more experienced, and that I can always get the right answers and I can always learn. And he always lets me get better and, you know, lets me do stuff. And I don't have to pay for the boat or for the gas or.
That was true honesty right
there. So
there.
it's like a free ride, and I get to learn a little bit.
Free ride.
Yeah.
That was like from the mouths of babes.
Good morning, everybody. I love that piece. I love watching it. And I just want to welcome everybody to the virtual Great Lakes Fishing Show. We've got an awesome lineup ahead of us today. A lot of great people coming on. We're going to bring on Captain Dan Keating here in just a few moments, but just want to say hello to everybody and welcome everybody to the show. Really appreciate you coming on. We've got a little bit of a kind of a special thing for everybody who's watching. You know, one of the cool things about going to these shows is having a little swag bag to carry around, so all the pencils and pens and hats and
now
stuff.
you don't have to carry the bag.
Now you don't have to carry the bag. Well, tell us about the little swag bag.
Yeah, so we wanted to do something. So a lot of people have asked the question, can we ask questions? Yes, you can ask questions. So when you ask questions, it's going to show up in the feed, and it'll show up in the comments on the page here. So what we're going to do for each segment is we're going to arbitrarily pick the best question.
It won't be arbitrary. We will actually pick the best question.
Okay, you pick the best question. The best question according to Chris. So that's going to be, I'm throwing that completely on you. So you're the one to blame. And then so whoever you choose for each segment, we're going to do we'll do the swag bag without the bag. So we got your Fishhawk slime towel. We have the lovely hat that's this
one.
Yeah, keeping the shine off of your
my head,
your head, off of the camera. And then we've got the sticker pack. Everybody likes sticker packs now. So that's going to be, we're going to do that for each segment for the best question as picked by Mr. Chris Larson.
Well, without further ado, I think we bring on the guy who literally wrote the book on trout and salmon fishing.
And that was, like I said last night, that was kind of strategic. It's like, if we can get Dan to comment first, that makes like total sense to me.
All the sense in the world. So let's bring on Captain Dan Keating. There he is. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey guys, thanks for including me.
Yeah, I appreciate you making time to come on. And you're the first guest ever on the virtual Great Lakes Fishing Show.
Wow, it's an honor.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes, I understand that congratulations are on order. You're a grandfather now, is that correct?
Yeah, thank you. Our oldest daughter Rebecca and her husband Noah gave birth to a little boy this week. So
congratulations, that's awesome, and thank her for not having the baby today. So
that would have been rough. Yeah.
So just from a pure selfish point of view, I'm like, okay, well, this has worked out really good. So
yeah, no, it was good timing for them. So they just came home last night, got the weekend to settle into having that little life there with them now. So pretty cool.
Right. Well, congratulations again, and give everyone our best, and that's awesome.
So let's talk a little bit about why we're having you on this morning. You got a new book out, and we both had a chance to take a look at it. It's called Big Water Wisdom: The Complete Trolling Q&A Guide. And Captain Dan, tell us a little bit about how you came up with the idea for this book.
Yeah, this was really my wife's idea. And this book is, it's my 5th book. And this is really the culmination of, I've been fishing. I chartered full time for 36 years, been fishing on Lake Michigan since I was a little kid. The fish above my head, that king, the reason it's there is I caught that out of a canoe when I was a kid. So this book is really the natural outflowing of just years of on the water. And charter fishing is different because you have to catch fish morning and afternoon. You have to do it in the spring, the summer, and the fall. So I've gotten to learn a lot about the characteristics of the fish, how the lakes respond to different weather systems, the currents, and just what the fish do during the day. I've also gotten the opportunity to learn how to become more efficient with how I set lines, how you run stuff, how you fight a fish, how you boat a fish, how you stay on a school of fish or get back on them. So this book really contains a lot of that gritty detail on really how to be successful. It's also very different because it's structured as a question and answer book, which again was my wife's suggestion. And it has over 500 questions. And some of the questions are pretty common questions, and some are a little more complicated questions. So it's a different way of learning. And most guys, we approach fishing often by the question. We're asking a question. Where should I fish right now? What lure should I use? How far should I set them down? The fish quit biting. Should I go look for new fish? Whatnot. So that's the approach on how it dives into the meat and potatoes of everything we do to catch salmon and trout.
When you sent me the book last week, Dan, I promised, I said I would read it before today, right? So I started that. No way. There's so much there. So every page you turn to, whether you're reading it in order or just opening the book, it's like, yeah, I've asked that question before. And for me, which I'm very much a weekend warrior, I'm not on the water continuously like you were, or like captains are, and things like that. The questions of doubt, am I doing the wrong, what should I be doing, that it's ever present with me if I'm not catching fish, right? So it was interesting because as I start going through the pages, I'm like, yep, ask that question. Yep, there, know that one. I mean, where it's like, that's, I'm looking forward to when I can actually get through it and kind of commit some of those to memory. So.
Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah. And it's structured so that you can read it straight through. I mean, you can go from page 1 all the way to the end, or it's logically cut up into 9 different chapters, from a beginner section to tackle to lures to the different tactics we use to the environment, characteristics of the fish and whatnot. So it's kind of designed to be like a encyclopedia for salmon fishing. So if a guy, and I understand most guys doing this do not get to fish every day, so they look forward to when they get to be on the water. So you can keep it on the boat as almost a guide, like, okay, lures books. How do I pick lures in the middle of the day at .com? Go to that chapter, find your question, boom, answer.
I'm writing that down. Keep it on the boat right now, because that can go in the rod. That's easy to go in the rod locker. Where, that's cool.
One of the things I like about it, and don't take this the wrong way, but I call it a bathroom book, because you can go in there and read it for 10 minutes and then come back, the next time you're visiting in there and read it for 10 minutes again, because like you say, everything is chunked up in there. And I think, as we're in this 2021 world and all of our attention spans are, at least mine anyway, is thinning, I'm not going to sit down and read a book for 2 hours. But the cool thing about this is that you can go in, you can read a little bit, and then put it down and come back. And it's not like you got to go back and review everything you read. It's in chunks that are really easily digestible. So it's almost like stew too, right? Yeah,
that's a great observation, Chris. It is bursts of information, and that's how our minds go. And I'm going to take the bathroom book as a compliment, because for a lot of us, we're so busy, we don't slow down until we get in there. We kind of
a little cringy.
Yeah. I'll be full of cringy moments today.
Yeah. No, it's. Yeah. So was that a strategy? I mean, when you did this, was that something you intended, or did it just kind of work out that way? I mean, having a book, I don't know how that comes out of your mind,
Oh, it was a strategy. It was definitely.
Okay.
I've done a lot of seminars, run a zillion charters, and guys are always asking questions. It's great in a seminar because you can do an all-day salmon school, and then just the hands go up with questions, because we've made this fishery so complicated. So, and then with everyone, with Facebook, Instagram, whatever, the 24-hour news cycle, we just get bursts of information. So this was intended to be bursts of information, easy to digest, and, hopefully guys will hang on to things better that way.
Dan, now it's March, and there are some guys getting out on the water, but everybody, I think, is in kind of get ready for the season mode. What should people be doing right now to prepare for getting their boats ready and just getting themselves ready to go fishing this spring?
Okay, guys, if you're married or have a significant other,
I know where this is going.
Spend lots of time with them right now, so when you see that the bite is hot and that's
Is that in the book? It should be. It should be page 1. So good idea.
There's so many things that are not in the book that's just like there's another book already on the horizon. But no, spend time with your significant other so that you can go fishing. One of the things that I like to do this time of year is tackle. I just brought in some boxes by me now, but I try to get really organized now, at home before you're out on the water, because you'll get on the water and, it'll get really confusing fast. So everything is really organized. I break up my spoons by size. So I'll have spoon boxes. You know, this is just, you know, generic spoon box, but all of my boxes are labeled. And of course, I just ran down to the basement and grabbed a box without a label on it, but they're all labeled with the brand of spoons, like Moonshine. So I would have a Magnum Moonshine box. I would have a UV box, a UV super slim box, whatnot. So that when you're on the water and you're looking for something, you know right where to go for. Flies, also very organized. And one of the things that helped me not to get disorganized or confused on the water is when I start the spring fishing out, I wouldn't put everything on my boat, because the way you fish in the spring is often different than the way you fish in the summer or the fall. So especially for guys who are recreational fishing and not doing it all the time, the stuff you want to put on your boat first is the stuff you're going to use in spring. You've got, you know, plenty of time to put that summer gear on the boat, so you're not don't have too much stuff as you're kind of working out the cobwebs.
Captain Dan, we're starting to get a lot of questions actually on Facebook and YouTube right now. Here's one that's asked specifically to you, and it's from Andy Munden on YouTube, and he's asking, if you were heading out on the Lake Ontario solo and could only fish 2 rods, what approach would you take, and how would you change this as the day progresses?
What time of year?
Ooh, what time of year, Andy? Let's say May, since we're heading into that time of year.
Okay, so you can only run 2 rods and it's May and you're by yourself. I would say if you're fishing in shallow water and it's first thing in the morning, and let's say you're in shallow water targeting brown trout, possibly coho, I would probably run a diver, like a deeper diver, and a mono trolling board or a segmented lead core board out off the side, depending on how deep water you're fishing in. You know, my experience with spring is that some springs you're going to get the best fishing from the beach out to about 30 feet of water, and other springs the fish will be further offshore. So if you're going to be offshore, then chasing kings or lake trout, then you're going to want to get your baits down, probably not right on the surface. So that would be, I would start with a diver and a downrigger first thing.
Very good. All right, we've been getting some questions about bait fish, and one person wants to know, looks like it's Bill Kellerman wants to know about the alewife population. A number of years ago, they thought it was crashing. Has it come back? And then we've also got a question asking about significant changes in fish patterns as different bait fish populations ebb and flow. Is there a prime window of time for multi-species anglers new to the salmon game?
Okay, let's do the first question as far as the bait fish population. The Great Lakes are incredibly resilient. I started chartering legally in 1983, started fishing in 1972, and we've really seen ups and downs throughout that fishery. And the lakes seem to rebound. Some years are better than others. Last year on Lake Michigan, the kings were bigger than we've seen in a long time. And they were super healthy. Everything was healthy. Steelhead were healthy. Lake trout are getting huge. So, you know, I can't say how many alewives there are, but the DNR tells us that's all kings eat. I would debate that, but that is probably their preferred forage. And there must be plenty of alewives because they were getting awfully big. I know guys that are fishing in the southern basin of Lake Michigan, and I've seen coho pictures all winter. And there are some really healthy cohos that didn't get as large as they are this year eating just bugs. As far as like Lake Ontario goes, that's the bottom end of the food chain. I mean, all the Great Lakes are flowing out through Lake Ontario. So Lake Ontario has a much healthier bottom end of their food chain because there's just more washing into that lake. So I personally think the alewives, while they may not be as many as there used to be, I think there's going to be enough alewives that we're going to have a solid fishery. And my gut feeling is that this year is going to be really good for silverfish on both Ontario and Lake Michigan. I know I've seen pictures of guys catching cohos on Lake Superior through the ice. So I'm sure
they're in boats. They were out yesterday. I mean, the ice blew away from shore, and there's guys out. So
yeah. Yeah. And what was the second question, Chris, or the second part of that question?
Yeah, so the second part of the question, is there a prime window of time for multi-species anglers new to the salmon game?
Ooh, prime time for multi-species anglers new to the salmon game. Is the question coming from a Lake Ontario or a Lake Michigan person?
Unclear.
Unclear. Okay.
Let's say Lake Michigan.
Okay. Boy, multi-species, May is a great month for multi-species because you've still got a lot of cold water around. You've got the fish are coming out of their winter patterns. They're hungry, they're aggressive. So you can find steelhead right up on the surface. In the southern third of Lake Michigan, you can also find coho there. You've got your kings, they're getting active during May. And then lake trout, you can find them anytime. So I would have to say May, or then again in July, possibly early August, is also a good multi-species time as well.
Very good. Let's talk a little bit about some of your other books, Dan. We've been talking some fishing here. Let's get back and let people kind of know what you've got out there. We talked about the Big Water Wisdom, the complete guide, the Q&A guide that you just put out. But how about some other books? What are some other things that people should look at if you're thinking about gaining some knowledge this year? Yeah,
Chris, let me just start at the beginning. The first book is Great Lakes Salmon and Trout Fishing, the Complete Troller's Guide. I call it the Blue Book. It's the oldest book. It is the most basic of the books. It's really simple. I've had, over the years, I've had literally guys who would get the book at Amazon and they would sit there in their bass boat reading this book, rig their boat up, and then they would go fishing and catch a limit, 10 fish, 2-man limit of fish on Lake Michigan. So if you're just starting out, Blue Book is the way to start.
You had more hair then.
What's that?
You had more hair then.
Don't start. I got my hair cut for this today since this is a new.
Okay. I'm sorry.
And we were actually discussing, should we just shave my head? That was a conversation with the girl who cuts my hair. So
I'm sorry. Peanut gallery.
No, that's all right. That's all right. And yes, the hair is going away. And then the next book is Keating on Kings. This is 256 pages of everything about king salmon. So if you want to get inside my head on what I think about, how I approach king salmon fishing, this is the book for you. Having said that, after we made the book, we decided that some guys don't like to read, so we need a video. So there's a Keating on Kings DVD, part one, and then part 2. It's basically a visual of the Keating on Kings book. Part 1 is more entertaining. Part 2 is more in depth, more to sink your teeth into. Next book then is the Red Book, Great Lakes Salmon and Trout Fishing, Essential Tactics and Seasonal Strategies. Haven't figured the camera thing out yet. This is a multi-species book. This was 2 books ago. And this is a really good, solid book. It takes you through a typical season, and it talks about the different ways to find steelhead and catch them, cohos, kings, brown trout, lake trout, and whatnot. Very easy book to read as well. And then the final book is Angling Life, which is really more about life than fishing, kind of uses fishing as a metaphor to look at life. So that's the whole group of books.
That's some great stuff. We got a couple more questions coming in. We've got a few more minutes, Dan. So here's one from Dale. What are Dan's favorite and always out color spoons for Lake Michigan?
What are my favorite spoons for Lake Michigan and colors?
Yep.
Wow. It's hard to, every year it seems like there's different spoons that just take over and dominate. And so this year's hot spoons, we may not know what they are until we get out and fish. But having said that, over the years, there's a few spoons that just seem to work no matter what's going on. So for the moonshines, that would be the green flounder pounder, the regular green flounder pounder. Actually, last year we had some of the best king fishing out of North Point that we've had in years, and that was the star performer. Another really solid moonshine, that was the regular green flounder pounder, is the Shelly Snack, which is an RV moonshine. That's my other favorite moonshine. Those two right there. Now, if it's foggy, then the orange flounder pounder comes into its own dimension if you're facing fog. Some other spoons, the super slim and the stinger and the UV green dolphin, that is a solid spoon that if a guy doesn't know what to run, that's the spoon to put on your line. The UV blue dolphin super slim is also another solid spoon if you don't know what to run. And then as far as for steelhead go, I would have to say the last few years, the UV spoons, both the super slims and the stingers, and combinations of golds, reds, and silvers, they make a lot of different patterns. So, but getting that UV in there is really important for steelhead fishing.
We're starting to run out of time. With just one more question from the audience. That's from Kurt Lucenort. Fewer salmon in the water, more lake trout. How can we more effectively target lake trout?
How can we more effectively target lake trout? Kurt, read this book right here. No, seriously, lake trout. Lake trout for some guys, it's the easiest fish to catch, and for other guys, it is the hardest fish to catch. So since the water has cleared up in the Great Lakes, especially in Lake Michigan, lake trout behave a little differently. You still have your lake trout. I'm going to go through this fast because we're running out of time. You have your lake trout that sit right on the bottom. You have another group of lake trout that suspend and they just roam around. The bottom-oriented lake trout, you have to know where they hang out. One of the biggest keys is fishing around either a clay bottom or a rocky bottom. So on Lake Michigan, there's not really a lot of rock or clay compared to muck. So finding the areas where there's clay, finding the areas where there's rock, fishing those areas. Then when the trout are on the bottom, again, I'm going to go fast through this. And, you know, in the salmon schools, we spend like an hour on this if guys want to. But for getting the bottom bounce right on the clay, you can rub the bottom. But there's almost an art to how you get your lures bouncing right on the bottom. You can do it with a downrigger weight. You can do it with a 1 pound or a 20-ounce lead ball on wire line, or you can do it with the Magnum divers. With the downrigger weights, it's kind of easier, but you need a heavy weight. So you want to use at least a 15-pound downrigger weight to get it down there. Magnum Metals makes a 25-pound downrigger weight, which makes fishing the bottom super duper easy. But it's just getting that tap just right. And speed, highly sensitive for speed on lake trout. You almost need your throttle guy just playing with that speed till you dial right into them.
Awesome. One more question, and that is if people want to find out more about you or where they can get your book, where do people find the books? Dan, this is obviously a lot of people looking for knowledge and getting ready for the season.
Yeah, this is a great time to get ready. And the more you know now, guys, the more prepared you're going to be when you get out there. And in all of our books and DVDs, they don't just give you hot lures. They certainly make suggestions, but they teach you how to look at the water, how to read it, how to adjust, and to make decisions, you know. So, but you can find all of our stuff on Amazon or on my website, which is CaptainDanKeating.com.
Dan, thank you immensely for being our very first guest.
Well, thanks for having me, and I hope everybody has a great season this year, and we have lots of comp season in front of us.
All right. Take care, Dan.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. We've got a couple guests in the hole, and they're already ready to rock. So we're going to go ahead and bring on the next guest, which is Sean Banks. And let's bring him up. Sean, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great, guys. Thank you very much.
Sean is from Ontario and works closely with the folks at Rapala Canada, Lure Jensen. And when we reached out to the guys, they said, you know what, we can tell you about it, but we really should have you talk to Sean because he knows it better than we do because he's out there doing it every day. Where are your ports of call, Sean? Where do you how do you follow the lakes around, I guess?
For myself, in the spring, starting second, third week of April, we start out of St. Catharines, fishing the Niagara Barrett Bar area, all the way down into the west end of the lake, into Jordan, Grimsby in that area. And then I fish down there till the end of May. And then we move up back across to Newcastle, fishing the port of Newcastle for the months of June, July, and August. It's a central part of Lake Ontario on the North Shore. And we normally have some pretty good numbers of salmon hanging around.
Cool. So you're following the fish.
Yeah, we try. we try to definitely follow the fish just to get that early spring bite. It's a fantastic bite. It's a shallow water bite that we use crankbaits for, fishing anywhere from 15 to 40 feet of water, trolling deep divers, shallow divers, light line, 14-pound test off the planer boards, get divers, 25 feet back. So it's a lot of fun. It's very exciting when those rods go off.
Cool. One thing I'll point out to anyone that's watching, so there's actually a little difference between Rapala Canada, Rapala USA. So in Rapala Canada, there's some more offerings. So for example, we're going to talk about rods and such a little bit. You and I talked about that a little bit on the phone, Sean. But so the rods we're talking about, they are only available in Canada. So we've got a lot of Canadian customers. Hopefully we have a lot of Canadian viewers here. So just kind of for everybody's, as some of the things we're talking about, if you're here in the U.S., you may not, you're not probably going to find those on store shelves. So just wanted to kind of point that out up front. And I guess with that, why don't we maybe start with rods? Does that work for you? Or you can kind of do anything you want, but maybe we could start with rods. So.
Yeah, so last year, Lure Jensen, we worked really hard developing a new line of rods called the Legacy Series. The rods go all the way from 10.5 foot heavy mooching rod all the way down to through your downrigger rods and multi-discipline rods, back trolling, your casting rods, your crankbait pier rods, and everything else. So they have a whole brand new line of rods that they're absolutely beautiful. For me, on my boat, I use the 10.5 mooching rods as well as the 9 foot downrigger rods for our planer boards as well.
And those are under the Lure Jensen brand. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. They're pull one up here for you, Trevor. So this guy here, that's the Lure Jensen mooching rod. Got a wind grip handle, nice rubber handle. It's very tacky.
Oh, cool.
It's it's sitting in your holster, it works very well. It doesn't slide around, doesn't wiggle around, and then that's our reel right there as well.
That's a Lure Jensen reel.
That's correct. Yeah.
So that was actually on I've got my cheat sheets up on our little our teleprompter here. I guess is that what that is? So that was one of the things I wanted to ask. So you mentioned the mooching reel thing is intriguing to me. So we're here in northern Minnesota, so we get accused of being half Canadian anyways. But so the feedback out there. Okay. So the mooching reel thing is different to me. Tell us about that, I guess.
So the mooching reels are really widely used on the West Coast. So I imagine that's where they started. Didn't see too many of them on Lake Ontario up to 10 years ago. When Rapala first came out with the first one, I was really excited to use one because we've been using float reel center pins on the tributaries for a long time. And just the ability to be one-to-one with the fish it's a unique experience. With the mooching reel, they have a built-in drag, so you're not using your palm as the drag for those big kings. They have a built-in drag, very strong cork washer drag. And the cool thing about them is when a fish stretches you out on mono line off a rigger, and they're 500, 600, 700 feet out there, and you're dealing with the stretch that's in that mono line when you're leaning back on a fish and you go to reel forward. A lot of times on a conventional level wind reel, you get a lot of slippage. Your drag, your reel won't turn because of that. It's absorbing the spring action from your monofilament line. With a mooching reel, it's almost like a boat winch. You don't even have to pump the rod. You can actually just crank on that fish nice and slow. You don't want to pull the hook or anything like that, but you can actually crank on those fish and get them to the boat a lot faster. So, for me, that's important to be able to, fish in tournaments or even on a charter, to give my clients the ability to get a fish in faster and not get as tired.
Is the retrieve fast I mean, obviously the ratio, I mean, it's not a gear ratio, it's 1-to-1, but I mean, as the spool diameter builds, it's going to be fat. I mean, is it, how does it compare like retrieve speed wise to a conventional reel?
Well, we definitely don't have the gear ratios, you know, of 4-to-1 on these reels, but at the same time, for the most part, when we're the only time you really have to reel is when that king turns and comes at the boat. Most times, whether on my boat, if I'm guiding, I'll speed the boat up so the clients can catch up to that fish, or for fishing a tournament, you know, whoever's operating the boat at that time will, you know, pick up the slack, speed the boat up a touch. But you're right. Depending on the arbor of the reel, if you have a 4-inch, you're turning the crank a lot faster. But for on my boat, we use a 5-inch arbor on the Lure Jensen.
I don't know. I think I want one. I mean, just because they're different and they look super cool. So anyways, that was like a personal question. It's like, okay, I want to try these out. So anyways.
Yeah, the mooching reel is really making its way across Instagram because it's very photocentric and beautiful as well. You know, that's something to take a nice picture of. Tell us a little bit about the new Lure Jensen attractor.
Sorry, Chris, I missed you.
I see that you have a new attractor. The Lure Jensen has a new attractor. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so over the last 2 years, actually maybe 3 years, we've been working on developing a new flasher. We named it the Cyclone, and this is it here. So the Cyclone Flasher actually has a centerpiece that actually spins and rotates. I'll try to do that a bit slower for you. And this one's in a chrome frog pattern. It's got a moon jelly tape on the back, and this one also has the fins that we put on it as well to ensure that the flasher rotates. It's the 11-inch really puts a wallop in the water. It disturbs a lot of water. They work through the whole season, right from in the spring season, over in Niagara, if the fish are out deep, out 140 and we're down 120. These guys really call fish in. All the way through the summer and into the fall for staging kings. These things drive staging kings nuts. We paired one of these with one of our Jensen flash fly rigs, which is a 3-fly meat rig, and they work fantastic. We also have it in a 8-inch version as well. So if you want to pair it with one of our flash flies or a meat rig as well off a diver, or if you're fishing a bit shallower and you want to run it off a rigger, by all means, they're fantastic products.
Definitely looks different. I mean, I would imagine it's a different sound signature from, you know, a lot of the things that we've had, you know, that we're all kind of used to fishing or have been for the last several years. It sounded just with the center, you know, spinner in there, the Cyclone part of it.
Yeah, it definitely puts out a lot of noise. If you watch it in the water, just the bubble trail that's created behind it is incredible. They're all finished with Everglow paint as well, and they also come in a UV finish as well. So there's a whole product lineup for you, for the guys out there to give them a shot.
What else do you have there on your table, Sean? It looks like you've got some stuff kind of laid out in front of you. So let's let you kind of pick and choose and tell us about what you want to tell us about.
Yeah, another exciting product that we developed this year to go along with our normal cut bait heads and meat rigs, like these guys here from Lure Jensen. We worked last year very hard developing a brand new line of anchovy heads. So these anchovy heads, the camera doesn't do it justice, but they're absolutely incredible. The detail in these things, the large eyes. We have a metal pin to hold our bait in there as well. The pin's removable. If you lose the pin, it's no big deal. The hole's big enough to put a toothpick through. But we did a lot of testing with these last year, and they work very well on Lake Ontario for us, both in the spring and all through the summer.
Very cool. We do got a question here, and this is more on the fishing end of it. That's something that obviously you do quite a bit of it. It's from Andy Munden on YouTube, and he's asking, why are so many of the big fish caught in the salmon derby coming from the Newcastle area as opposed to around Bronte? Something to do with the flow from the Niagara River, maybe?
That's a good question. Sometimes it even makes me wonder what those guys are doing around there. It could be a whole complex group of reasons, but however, Newcastle in our area is in the central part of the lake. So regardless if you have and the lake is situated east to west or west to east, elongated. So when we have the big winds and the big blows, when those fish relocate after you've been iced out, odds are a central portion of the lake isn't going to change as much as, say, the west end towards Bronte or the east end towards Wellington. So we have, I'd say, maybe a bit more stable water, which those larger fish and their bait, their food, are looking for. We also have 3 naturally reproducing rivers as well out of Newcastle. We have Bowmanville Creek, then we have Wilmot Creek, and then we have Graham Creek, which are all naturally reproducing rivers. A couple years ago, we lost our net pens. They went down to Whitby. So for 4 or 5 years, we haven't even had our pen project in Bowmanville. It's coming back this year, which is fantastic. But so those fish are likely natural fish, and they're big.
Is there any? Did you have any other products that you wanted to cover, Sean? I've got a general question. If you don't, I've got a general question for you. But is there anything else that you wanted to hit that you haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, another one we have here is a new 3-pack of flash flies, and for those guys out there who want to tie their own meat rigs to pair these up with our bait heads that come in a 2-pack. By all means, you can buy your own. A lot of people like to tie their own rigs because they want a 10-foot rig instead of a 72-inch rig, or they want a shorter rig, or they just want the option to do things themselves with different hooks and different terminal components. So these flash flies are also incredible, rigged up just for coho behind a small flasher. They work very, very well. A couple other things too. Sorry, guys, go ahead.
Nope.
You go ahead.
Yep, all of you.
All right, and then of course under the Normark brand, the Rapala brand, we also have our lines. So this is our new Suffix Advance. It's a hypercopolymer. It's a cross between a mono, braid, and a floral. And we had it out last year, but this year is the first time that we have it in a high vis in the bigger patterns, in the higher pound tests, and it also coming in a 1,200 yard spool as well. So for those guys on the charter boats or want to save a bit of money, you can get them on a 1,200 yard spool now.
By the way, Sean, it sounds like Andy Munden is going to move to Newcastle now. So you might have one more boat in port with you.
Fantastic. Welcome aboard.
Go ahead, Trevor. You had a question.
Any other new goodies? Anything cool you want to show us?
Yeah, we also have a few new braided lines as well. We have the Suffix 131, which is just developed this year, released this year. It's even, if you can believe it, higher a grade than our Suffix 832. So this stuff, it's incredible. It's a bit higher in the price point, but it works very well. It's 14 strands.
Yeah, and the 832 is smooth.
And
so
we have another.
Yeah.
Exactly, and this is 14 strands, so it's even smoother. It's incredible. And then we have another one for our maybe more budget conscious guys, and that's the Suffix Pro Mix. It's an offering that we have this year for those folks out there that maybe they don't fish every day, every weekend, but they need a good line to put on the reels, and the Suffix Pro Mix will do the job for them.
Cool. Very cool. Sean, if people want to find out more about Lure Jensen and Rapala Canada and the product offerings there, where can they find it?
Yeah, for Rapala Canada, they can go to rapala.ca. They can order directly off the website. And under that banner as well, you'll find lurejensen.ca, Gamakatsu, VMC hooks. You'll find all of our companies under there, and you can order directly. So I'm not sure if the guys in the US, if they're looking for something, but the possibility you could do it that way. For myself, you can find me at homerecordcharters.ca, my website. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and be happy to hear from you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Sean, for coming on and sharing with us some of your knowledge and a little bit about the products. We appreciate you coming on and being part of the show.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Trevor. Have a great day. Good luck out
there,
everybody.
Take care, Sean.
Take care. Well, that was awesome to have Sean on, and we've got Captain Don Rupert coming up in just a second.
Reel.
You want a mooching reel? Andy Munden wants to move to Newcastle.
Yeah.
And let's take care of a little bit of housekeeping as far as that goes. Those awards and gifts so far. So for the Dan Keating segment, we're going to go with Corey J. Brown as the winner of the swag bag. Corey, you can message us. Don't put it in comments. Please send us a private message with your address, and we'll get that package out to you. And Andy Munden was really the only person to ask a question for Sean. So, and Andy, your question was really good, and I think you got a great answer out of it. And it was also, he kind of added some funny to the show as well. So we appreciate that. So Andy, you're going to be the winner during Sean's segment. So go ahead. You're on YouTube. So just send us an email. You can send me an email. It's chris@GreatLakesFishingPodcast.com with your address, and we'll get your package out. And we're a little bit early, but I see Captain Don Rupert looks like he's more than ready to rock. So we're going to bring in Captain Don Rupert. We're going to be talking some reels and such once again, and some rods.
Hi,
Don, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Cool. What's happening that way? Are you guys is the ice away from shore, or is there ice? What are conditions on the ground right now?
We're starting to come out of it. We got a nice warm up coming. We do have our eastern basin is relatively ice covered right now. Not safe enough to ice fish on, so it's kind of nuisance ice. The wind's moving a little bit. It'll bust up here with this warm front coming, and we get to that certain square foot or square mileage, and then they'll pull the boom, and then we'll start really seeing the signs of the season that comes. So we're getting close.
Well, one of the signs of the seasons we haven't seen is, normally I run into you like 3 or 4 times between the 1st of January and like now at shows and whatever. So this is just it's different because we're not seeing each other all the time now. So that's the signs of the season that we haven't had this year. So.
Yeah, it's Trevor. We miss the guys. The show season's it's a special time. You get to see the guys every year. It's a tradition, yourself included, and and it should go noted. A quick shout out to both you and Chris. Thank you for putting this together. Projects like this are usually a thankless effort, but you guys do a great job. So we're glad to be here with you, and certainly look forward to maybe getting back to what we're used to, Trevor, and seeing the guys and having some laughs and sharing time together. Yeah,
we're right there with you on that one. So,
yeah, I'm missing my buffets.
Obviously,
see, I've been missing it, but I'm missing it.
So what do we have new in the Okuma lineup this year? Anything brand new for 21?
I can't really say we have anything drastically new, guys. We have made some improvements to our core product offerings, which is really just enhancing some of the things the guys are used to fishing. Our primary reels for the open water trolling on the Great Lakes, specifically where I'm located over here in the Eastern Basin out of Sunset Bay, have really stayed the same. The 20, 30, and 45 class reels are doing most of the work. We can talk about some of that a little more in detail as to maybe what choices to be looking at and to what to consider when you're putting together a package for going after our Lake Erie walleyes. And the same holds true for the rod offerings. You know, the Okuma rod trolling offerings basically are ranging from 7.5 feet up to 10.5 feet, with a lot of application-specific rods available. And we can talk about maybe what marries well with what reel for what style of fishing some of the guys like to do. We know that a lot of guys might not be into the downrigger side of it, but maybe more of a flatliner. We got some guys that are heavy on the dipsies, and maybe not so much on planer boards and lead core. But we have a wide variety of each, and we can maybe touch on some of that today.
Absolutely, that would be good. I think having fished a lot of the product in the past, I mean, it's Okuma is certainly a great brand to consider. There's a lot of boats being rigged right now for the first time. I mean, as you know, I mean, there's a lot of people that are trying Great Lakes fishing, that are getting into it. And one of the things I've appreciated about the Okuma brand is you can do that at a reasonable cost. I mean, you're getting good quality stuff, and it's a good value, I guess, is what I'm saying. So maybe go through some of those setups and for somebody who's starting out or just setting up a boat maybe for the first time.
Yeah, the Okuma's business model on it is to have properly priced point products that perform well, and they've truly excelled in that. So a guy that's getting into the game can set up a new rig without really having to worry about breaking the budget. We've got a couple examples that we can talk about today. I hope the camera does it enough justice, but one of the most universal rods that we're using on Lake Erie for the walleye fishing is the Deadeye series. It's a great price point rod. The most universal rod length or action is going to be your 8'6" medium. It kind of covers 70% of the applications you'll do if you're just setting up a boat. And one of the unique features to it is we do have a telescoping feature, so we can essentially take it to 8'6" to maintain that action and length that we want. And then for the guys, if they're on a smaller boat, even bigger boats, you can then telescope it. You're down to 6'6", and now you can store it. So it's a great universal rod and a great price point rod. You know, most guys can find these rods for $40, $45 somewhere throughout the internet stores or the brick and mortars. That rod can couple well with, let's say, for an example, a 30 size reel, which can be the magnet. It could be the convector, and you can move all the way up to some of the higher end things that we have, such as the Coldwater series. That 30 series reel with that 8'6" rod will allow the angler just setting up to have a properly positioned package to do lead core up to 5 colors. You could fill it straight with mono and fish it off a rigger. You could put it to strictly braid and flatline it. So you can look at really dialing in relatively fast to some core product offerings that are priced properly for the guys just getting set up.
And I mean, are those heavy enough, Don, where, I mean, a lot of guys, especially in your part of the world, a lot of guys jump back and forth between Erie and Ontario. I mean, do they, so if I'm going to go salmon fishing for the weekend and, I mean, is it something where I can set up one set of gear and kind of go, multi-species with it?
You can. Now, there are some steps that you would want to upclass your rods, if you will. But like Dan mentioned early in the first presenter, that, when we get started up on Lake Ontario and it's a shallow water troll, if you're looking for brown trout, once that water is just right, that's usually what gets going first. These rods can certainly double duty for both of those. When you get up into, maybe the progression of deeper water applications, the dipsy divers, and even your downriggers, you might want to step the rod up away from the Deadeye series to getting into the Blue Diamond and the White Diamond series, but still, again, very well price point to where, the guys aren't breaking the bank.
Sure.
Starting to get some questions. Some people are interested in hearing from you. Looks like we've got a question from Thomas Both. Why or why not use all high-speed DS reels like the Coldwater 453 for lead core or dipsies?
Sure. The advent of the high speed was really for some of the long lines, obviously the deep water approach, your 8, 10, 12 color lead core packages, copper for the guys up on Lake Ontario. Obviously retrieving on a relatively fast 6.21 retrieve ratio is going to be more efficient for you on the boat, get more time in the water. Obviously, efficiency and organization tournament-wise is very important. And you certainly can. It's almost the same comment of why buy a reel without the line counter option on it. It really becomes personal preference is what it comes down to. One thing we talk about with the high-speed reels on Lake Erie, we're on the deeper end of the lake on this eastern basin, and as our summer progresses and our water and our fish go deeper, and we have the high-speed reels, our walleyes have a natural progression where they get a sore mouth, and their teeth and their lips, if you will, are relatively very tender. And a lot of guys with the high-speed reels will start pulling and not really moving the rod, but the reel speed itself is pulling fast enough, and they're disengaging from some of the fish. So as long as your team or your group or the people you're fishing with know that they just really have to slow down when they're engaged with a fish, you know, the walleye side of things, it's important to remember. The main benefit is really just for the retrieval when you're changing baits or wanting to change bait in a different presentation.
We got another question here. This is from Scott Obarzanek, and he asked, is there any chance you'll introduce a shorter 7.75 copper rod for those of us that like the shorter rods for boards?
Yeah, you know, the shorter rods are growing in popularity. We see it on the Lake Ontario side. We see it on Lake Erie. These are conversations we're having all the time, and I think it's a fair answer to say, yes, stay tuned. We're constantly playing with new rod designs, new rod models and makes, kind of take them out, break them on purpose, try them, see what happens. But that's the unique thing about Okuma is that we're never sitting still with a product line and just carrying forward. We're always R&Ding, always looking at new opportunities, and we welcome the public to send us, you know, versions of what they think they would like to see. That's the best R&D investment we have right there, is listening to the customers.
Steve Hardcastle is asking, well, first he says, what's up, Don? And he says, on why the big numbers of walleye stayed on the USA side versus the Canadian side in 2020. I think it had something to do with COVID. Maybe they were concerned about the virus up there, but Steve would like to know your thoughts on that one.
Well, first off, hey, Steve, good to hear from you, buddy. You know, this whole COVID thing and international border closing, it's we're missing the guys, buddy, but look forward to catching up to you. I question if the fish were on our side this year. Boy, we had a lot of big fish, or I should say a lot of quantity of fish, but I wouldn't say we had a ton of big ones. I think you guys are still taking the cake over there on the North Shore. But, you know, I think overall, if we look at what's happening right now, is like, for instance, the ice cover, you know, and when we look at what happens when we do have good ice cover as opposed to when we don't, definitely has an effect as where those bigger fish are going to be throughout the summer, where they start and where they finish. So, you know, I think it's weather related. It's affected by current and temperature, but kind of as Dan mentioned in his segment, you know, it's kind of unique. That's the key of fishing right there, is, you know, just being able to understand the water and what the conditions are giving you.
Brad Deutschman wants to know, what's the rod and reel combo of choice for braid used with divers?
I would, my recommendation there, guys, would be an 8'6" medium white diamond and using the cold water 30 line counter. I would take 1/3 of that reel, fill it with a good, solid, robust monofilament, about 20-pound test, and then top shot that to full capacity with your braid. Typically what we're doing for both Lake Erie and Lake Ontario is using a 30-pound test braid on top of that to give you full capacity of that reel, and you can get everything done with that combo right there, whether it's walleye fishing or if you're up on Lake Ontario.
Brian Kurzowski wants to know about the new Connector Pro Series.
The I missed you on that one, Chris. Can you say that again?
Convector, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry, Convector Pro Series.
Gotcha. You know, that's one of our core products now, and what's good about it is it's really looking at putting the different versions of speeds, really, is what we're doing with it. It's kind of been birthed from the low profile style. It's just another version. We have different speed arrangements on all three phases, whether it's our Magna, but Convector and cold water as well. So just another feature and offering. And, you know, this year when we talk a little bit about not having the shows available where we can kind of show the reels hands-on, you can find a lot more detail on this, along with the product catalogs that we didn't print this year because we weren't at the shows, and all that's readily available online. So for even more detail on any of the rods or reels, we can show you more that way.
Don, my background is in football, and the most popular two guys on a football team are the backup quarterback and the assistant coach, because those two guys always seem to be better than the guy who has the job. And questions people are asking about stuff that's been discontinued. They want to bring back the slow death rods, and someone else is asking, any chance they'll bring back the Catalina?
Well, whoever's asking about the Catalina, Trevor, maybe he gets the award right out of the gate. That's my favorite reel of all time. We have that conversation internally a lot. The good news is we're consistently talking about it. The bad news is it's not on our radar for the next couple of years. But it's not a dead animal. I think it's just about timing. And we're just looking at, potential opportunities in front of us and just making sure that coming back with another upgrade or a high-end reel like that is the right time. The cold water really isn't too far behind that reel, but for whoever asked that question, that Catalina is still my personal favorite as well. So I'm on the push side for it. So we'll keep you posted. Stand by.
Actually, so Marvin Marner asked a question, and this was one I was gonna ambush you with, and not ambush you because I feel it from the supply side as well. Supply chains are stressed right now. There's no question about that. How is it looking on the Okuma side right now? Do you have any insight on that, Don, as far as deliveries and such go?
Yeah, we're feeling it, Trevor. Just as any manufacturing group, any product style production group, we're feeling it. The good news is we just did a major replenishment as far as equipment and stock availability in Southern California at our headquarters. And so you'll start to see some of that coming up to the retail side of things, which is very positive and long overdue. But it's been a challenge this year. It's a frustrating thing when you have guys looking for gear and willing to buy gear and it's just not available. But I think moving forward, as we're coming into the end of Q1 here, going into Q2, you're going to see a nice surge of availability just before the spring season hits.
If people want to see these things and see photos and get information, Don, what's the best way for people to kind of look up and get some of this information on their own?
Any search engine will get you to our website. In the advent of COVID, a lot of groups are putting fresh looks to their website, Okuma's included. So jump on any search engine, jump on www.okuma.com. It'll put you right there, and you can just surf right through everything we have from salt all the way through to freshwater.
Very cool. Don, tell us a little bit about what you've got going on. I know tournament season is coming up. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on this spring.
Yeah, we were able to actually, the Sunset Bay Walleye Shootout, and I appreciate you guys giving me a chance to talk about that. We had the opportunity to pull it off last year right in the midst of COVID. So with the improvements happening in that environment, we're very excited about this year, and it's always the third Saturday of July. This year is July 17th, and we are very excited. We're once again expanding the fleet, so if there are opportunities there for guys that would like to get in, we're taking our waiting list and opening it up to a first-come basis. So if there's groups that want to fish it, just reach out to us at any time. We can help you along and get you the information you need. You can always visit the website as well, which is www.walleyeshootout.com. And the tournament's really grown by leaps and bounds. For a one-day shootout, we're officially the highest paying walleye tournament in the country. A couple major new sponsors this year. Inca Marine has been donating a full Lund boat package every year, and this year we had Lime Lake Marine now offering us a Lumacraft. So the addition of the Lumacraft is pretty neat this year, because the way we're giving that away is we pay the top 20 spots in the tournament. So as long as you land in the top 20 spots, your team puck goes into a drum, and we do an elimination draw. So it'll be kind of fun at the Breakfast of Champions, where we do the payouts to pass out another boat to the team. So it's a great venue. It's a great location at Cabana Sam's, right in Sunset Bay. We bring a big stage in right on the beach. It's a lot of fun. The atmosphere is great. Plenty of things to do for the family if they want to join, to come up, and they'll have something to do during the day while the guys are fishing. And then we, of course, do our live weigh-in show right on the beach, right along the shores of Lake Erie. It's a great venue.
And what's that like, putting something like that together, Don? I know there were some really significant challenges last year with everything going on. What's that been like putting together this year, the tournament?
Yeah. You know, I can honestly say, you know, we've gotten it to a level now that it's equivalent to a full-time job. It's a lot of effort. I have a great supporting cast. My team, the volunteers from Sunset Bay, ownership of the facilities there. They're so very easy to work with. So that makes it a whole lot easier. But you still have the day-to-day grind stuff, the permitting processes and the insurance processes. And with COVID, it just makes everything 10 times as hard. But you know, the love of the game, we drive through it, we get it accomplished, and we're actually ahead of schedule right now leading into what will come this July, so we're very excited. But a lot of hours go into it.
Are there spots left on, or are you full at this point?
We have guys rostered, and what I mean by that is they're on our list, but I haven't received their registration yet. And what we've done over the years is we actually had a waiting list, but it's grown to be as big as the tournament itself. So we're going to expand to 150 boats for this year, and we had 130 last year. Now we did obviously have a bunch of boats from our North Shore, our Canadian friends, come over. So we're uncertain how that's going to lay out. So we do have a section of those, and I promised the guys from the North Shore that they won't lose their spots to this. So we're going to be hanging tight to get a better definition of that come spring. If they can't come over, then we'll have those spots available. So if anyone's interested, reach out to us. We can get you on the list. We can kind of have a plan in place and then move forward to make sure that no one's left behind. But we don't want to forget about our Canadian friends and have this filled, and then all of a sudden they open up the border and they're allowed to come over, and then there's no room. So we kind of have a strategy to stick handle with it. So anybody interested, again, just reach out.
Cool. Well, you're not going to go far. You get a bathroom break because you're going to come back here in about little more than 20 minutes, and we're going to talk some boat trailers. But anything else on the Okuma front that you wanted to cover? Anything that we jumped over? Or?
You know, again, they can hit our website to surf anything they need, but they're certainly more than welcome to reach directly out to me. They can reach me at 716-435-4137. They can text over any particular questions they have. Maybe on getting how to set up a lead core package, or what would be the best application, or where to start fishing in the spring. Any of that, feel free, reach out through text. Text is nice and fast. It's easy, and we're willing to do that for anybody that wants it and help them along.
Awesome. All right. Well, do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you in a little more than 20 minutes, and we're going to bring in Shane from Dreamweaver here now, and talk some tackle.
Yeah, Shane, welcome to the show. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys?
Good. I know that this is your favorite thing to do, so I kind of not that you don't like talking to people, just that this isn't like your comfort zone. So I appreciate you agreeing to do this with us. So
no problem. So. Gotta make yourself uncomfortable once in a while.
That's right. Yeah, don't get comfortable. That's we've talked about that before. So cool. I guess we'll do the easy one first. What's up new product wise this year? What's coming down the pike here for guys this year?
Well, we started selling our smaller Ninja board late last year through the season, but that we have several colors, quite a few new colors of spoons and spin doctors, maybe not necessarily that are our own, but we're doing customs all the time for different shops. So there's all kinds of new stuff floating around. We're going to be coming with some new spoon colors and stuff next week. Not anything crazy, but a few things. We're having a little trouble keeping up right now because of supply chain things. So we're just extremely busy, and that's a good thing, but a problem nonetheless.
Yeah. I think let's go back to that, because you and I talked about that on the phone here earlier in the week, just because we commiserate with each other a little bit about some of the challenges we face as manufacturers. But Can you talk about the Ninja board development some? I know that you've been working on that for several years, and kind of where that came from, and how that, kind of how you guys put that together. I mean, I know that was something that you guys worked on, on your boat, just in just from pure experience. So, I mean, can you kind of walk us through that process a little bit?
Yeah. So we we have a really great partner in all of our plastic stuff. Everything we build, for the most part, is built right here in Michigan, and we work with Grand Haven Custom Molding, and we partnered up with them. Guys are fishermen too, so we worked on that project together for the Ninja board, and basically there was like 5 of us that worked on it for several months, and just revising and making a board that we thought would be the best. And so we've tweaked a lot of different things, and we're real happy with the product we've come up with. But we've been selling the larger one now this will be the 3rd. We've been selling it for about 2 years, and then this last one we came out with halfway through the summer last year. But basically, all the things that we've seen with other boards we've used, we fixed and made a better animal. And the main selling feature there for you is one-handed release, right? That's kind of, yeah. Basically, it's probably hard to see on this camera, but basically one button here releases both the front and the back release at the same time. So you literally just have to, with a motion, you can take the board off. So you don't need 2 guys anymore. A guy fishing by himself can use the board and not have that transitional period of taking the board off and losing the fish. Plus we've made some improvements so the board doesn't dive. It doesn't, it really tows well. It's kind of in between, like now I'm talking about our Salmon board, the bigger version, but it's kind of in between what other people have sold as a large board and other people in a smaller board. So it's kind of a good all-around board. It pulls really well from anything from a 150 to a 600 copper. So how does that, I guess, what size would you use for what application? I mean, So like our smaller board is kind of focused to the walleye market, and it's got a flag on it here, which is completely, the spring is adjustable for the flag tension. But us salmon guys don't really use the flag. So, but this board here is perfect for anywhere from a flat line to, I'd say, a full core or like a 200 copper. And then the larger board, this is perfect really from like a 100 copper up to 600 copper. And it tows really, really nicely with all those and anything in between. Yeah, so if we get on the water again this year, you will be reeling in all of the 600 coppers. So I don't know if you got a chance to do that one yet, but yeah, you can. That rod's an emergency only situation. Right. So have you ever embraced my idea for the Ninja board ad where the Ninja comes flying out of the boat and have you embraced? I really want to see that get produced. I think that would be really cool. Well, we're gonna put you on as the director, and we can make that happen. And you can be the Ninja.
I'll be a Ninja. I look good in a Ninja suit.
But
the more face covering, the more better, right?
Yep.
All right, we've got some questions coming in. Dale DeCourt is first. He wants to thank you for the support of the kids tournament. You guys rock, and we appreciate you supporting a great cause. And then he asks a question on glow spoons. Is there any upgrades in technology on paint holding a longer glow? Yeah, actually, we've been working hard the last year, and we've refined our glow spoons quite a bit. Actually, I have two new ones here. It's kind of hard in this situation to see,
right?
To see what's going on, but we have completely redone our glow finish, and for the better. So I think guys will really like that moving forward. We've redone all our glow spoons. So yeah, this is like a double process now that we're using, and they're substantially better than what we've sold in the past.
As far as the brightness or how long they glow, or what? I mean, what are they?
Kind of all the above. The holding, the finish holding, the brightness,
durability. You mean?
Yeah, the durability, the longevity of the glow. It's come a long ways in the last year or so. But we're always constantly improving, or trying to. So.
Can you tell us a little bit about the company? I think that a lot of people would love to hear the story. I mean, it's a family company. It's something that's been passed on now through the generations. Can you tell us just a little bit about Dreamweaver as a company and kind of how it's evolved?
So I guess, this company originally started out, it was called Pentwater Lure Company. And Roger Bogner bought that, and then he was selling under the Pentwater name for several years, probably somewhere in the 90s. He teamed up with my dad, and they changed the name to Dreamweaver Lure Company, and that's kind of the long, it's a much longer story than that, but we only have 13 more minutes, so but it's we've been constantly evolving and growing for almost 30 years now or longer.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's a cool story in that it's truly kind of a American dream type of story, and it's a company that, again, has stayed with the family, and you guys are kind of running it, and I think it's just a cool deal to me.
I think there's kind of a community of manufacturers, and certainly Dreamweaver is one of them. But I mean, you've got a lot of family companies, like Chip, for example, over at Wolverine and things like that. It's like everybody's competitors, but they're good competitors. I mean, they're the kind of people that you like. I mean, they're not your, we'll call them frenemies and things like that. But I think that's just really common for whatever reason in the Great Lakes market, where there's a lot of people that maybe you have similar products, but there really is a community there, and most of those are family run.
We were talking about buffets earlier, and I think it's one thing you'll see at these shows is
Shane likes a good buffet.
I know George likes the buffet too. It's one of those things that you'll see guys kind of all sitting together at dinner.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's kind of at these shows. Yeah. If you go across the street to wherever the popular dinner spot is, everybody will kind of be sitting together there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We always, I consider a lot of the people that are selling the same things as us are friends, and I talk to Chip a few times a year, and that's the unique thing. I mean, my favorite line from Trevor is Coke needs Pepsi, right? That's, we're all driving each other, so competition is not a bad thing.
Right. No, it's cool. There's some the cast of characters, and I don't know, I don't know if this exists in like the toilet paper market or not, but like the cast of characters in the fishing world, truth might be stranger than fiction. And somebody, like one of my first sales managers, told me, that you'll be fine as long as you remember that normal people don't sell fishing tackle. I don't know where that puts you, Shane, but
not normal.
Shane,
not normal.
You kind of went over some of the new stuff, but can for people who maybe, if there's somebody out there who's just new to the game, tell us a little bit about kind of the whole lineup and what you guys offer.
So, I didn't really have much choice in this whole matter. I've been raised on a boat since I was born, and so my destiny was kind of picked out for me. So I've been around this my whole life, but we always try to make things basically that are very tolerant and very user friendly. So everything we make is very speed tolerant, very we try to make things that work all the time, where it's not like the Spin Doctor, for instance, is something that'll work from 1 mile an hour to 4 mile an hour. It's not like a old school Dodger program where you have to dial into a specific tactic to make that thing work. You can run our spoons, our plugs, our flashers and flies all together and in harmony. So that's kind of what we're just, we're fishermen ourselves, and we're just constantly making things that work and trying to make it stuff that anybody can use, whether they're a beginner or a master.
One of the things, that question is a good one, Chris, because one of the things, I think there's going to be a lot of new anglers, and I think you would agree with this, Shane, people that are maybe trying Great Lakes fishing now that haven't done it in the past. And we as manufacturers, we take it for granted that, okay, well, everybody knows the stuff we do. Well, that's not true. I mean, so there's people out there that, that don't have, a box full of Spin Doctors already, that, they're still learning, they're going through that process, for the first time, maybe, where we take it for granted. I think that everybody kind of knows, what the program is. And just like we, with Dan's book, that's not the case. There's new people coming in all the time. And in this COVID year, I think that's, especially now, has probably never been more true than it is right now. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. We get calls every day, and some of the questions, I mean, yeah, you and I take it for granted because we've been around it and we know these things, but something that may seem very simple, and we just take it for granted, like you said. And but thank God for the internet is really helping these guys, because I remember what used to take a guy 20 years to learn, he can dig in and use Dan's books or all the information that's on YouTube and the internet. You can learn in a year or two what it used to take a guy 20 years to learn on his own.
Yeah, the other thing about learning, for anybody that's new, think about this just in having fish on your boat, Shane. It's like, for me, who doesn't get to do it all the time, how much I learned just in a day. Even if I was just hiring a charter, that's money. That's money well spent. I can tell you that. So.
Oh yeah, I tell that to people all the time when they call and they want, they're just starting or whatever, and that's probably the best $1,000 you could spend is just go with a good guide in your port for 2 days and pick his brain and watch and learn.
All right, Shane, we got a question coming in. I think this is a good one. It's from Brad Deutschman. He wants to know if you could touch on trolling speeds with the size of the spoons.
I don't necessarily think that the trolling speed is maybe I'm not sure that the size of the spoon matters with trolling speed. I think on any given day, trolling speed can change, and it doesn't matter what size spoon you're using. Like you might. I'm probably a slow fisherman, but certain days you might find that a good speed's 2.2, and other days you might find that good speed's 3.2, and it doesn't necessarily matter what size spoon you're pulling. It's more to do with maybe the aggressiveness of the fish or the conditions or the current or any other factors. But I wouldn't say that there's a right or wrong starting point with any particular spoon blade.
So you're not afraid to pull a DW mag at 3 miles an hour if that's what they're stroking?
Nope.
All right, Scott Barzanek says he loves the decoration behind you, and he's kind of salivating over 6-inch Spin Doctors. He wants to know if there's any chance some of those will be available in the next couple of weeks for this year's early coho.
Sure. Actually, I got a couple here that I could show you that we just built. these are kind of modeled after the thin fin color, which is the most popular coho color of all time. But these are new. They're kind of really cool. We have those in red and orange and yellow. And then there's also, like, this is our sample wall here. So this is just this is a lot of custom stuff. And then this wall happens to be a lot of discontinued stuff. But trying to see here, there's all kinds of, like, here's one. Here's one. I think this one in particular went to Anglers Avenue, but this is like a custom 6-inch. It's really cool.
And he might have been getting to production on though. I mean, the 6-inch stuff is shipping here right ahead of coho season.
Yeah, we're shipping them every day. You're not going to find a lot of them on our website right now because we're chasing all the store orders. So I know our inventory of coho stuff is pretty decimal as far as stuff that we have available to sell ourselves, but we're building and shipping them to stores every day. I mean, they're literally going on here every day. So I know like, you know, Fish on Bait and Tackle, Outdoorsman, Captain Chuck's. We sent a bunch of them to Captain Chuck's yesterday. So they're around, but you might not see them on our website because we don't have everything we're building is already sold.
Yeah, it's a crazy year, and it's like continue whether, you know, kind of across the board is what it feels like. So
yeah.
Shane, if you want to get to your website, what's the website address? How do they find out more about you?
It's just dreamweaverlures.com. So that's where you can find us. If anybody has any questions, we're usually answering our email 24 hours a day. Or, you know, a lot of times if somebody sends us a question, we answer it right away. If not, you might have to wait till the next morning or something. But we're always here if you need anything. And
we got a great question.
We got a great question. Right. Okay. So I'm gonna now. I know I said you got to pick all the great questions, but I'm picking this one. This comes from Bruce Relu. I hope I pronounced your name right, Bruce. But so who is Kevin's girlfriend?
Okay, that's a good story. And that's the cool thing about all these lure names is every single one of them has a story. But Kevin's girlfriend was basically that flasher was originally made by Willis Carriage down in Grand Haven, that color combination. And it was really, really working well one summer. And it didn't really have a name. And George Freeman's mate off the Freestyle is his name is Kevin. And of course, it's all the young guys mating on the docks and stuff. And he was using that flasher so much and on so many rods that all his buddies on the dock, this is Kevin, his name's Kevin Pomorski, but all the buddies on the dock accused him of sleeping with that flasher.
Yeah, I don't know what a better way to end it than that story.
That's a great one, Shane. Really appreciate you coming on. Hope you enjoyed your time. And like I said, appreciate you coming on and sharing kind of what you guys got going on for the Great Lakes, virtual Great Lakes show.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Shane. And Bruce, please PM us your address because that's the winner.
An email, Chris@GreatLakesFishingPodcast.com to claim your prize. Shane, take care. Have a great rest of your Saturday, rest of the weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we bring on Captain Don again, just a little bit of housekeeping. Dan Bognar is the winner of Captain Don's last segment for the hat and the sticker package. Dan, you can go ahead. And Don picked that one too. I haven't picked any for the last two segments. So Don picked Dan Bognar as the winner from that one. And then again, Bruce Rulo on YouTube for that. And a couple of questions we've had, will these videos be available? The plan is to segment these things up once the show is over and kind of put them out so that people can enjoy them that way. Again, this is brand new to us, so it looks like the technology is going to allow us to do that, but that's going to be contingent on everything working the way that we hope it will. And then the other thing is we've got some questions directed to us. We left our production crew at home. We gave them the day off today, so we are production crew, hosts. We're doing everything here. So sometimes we probably are not going to be able to type in answers to questions directly to us. We'll just try to read them to the guests as we go. But just kind of bear with us. We'll try to get to those questions in these little micro segments where we can talk about what's going on. But that's the deal, guys. We'll put out these segments into little smaller chunks kind of as the show ends here in the next few weeks. So we've got Captain Don Rupert coming on once again. And this time we're going to be talking about Loadmaster trailers. And get one more swig of that coffee, Captain Don, because it's time to...
Guys, you're doing a great job. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you.
So I told Chris this yesterday. I'm looking forward to this one because I think trailers aren't in the discussion enough from the standpoint that if you're going fishing on any given day, you know, what's the most important piece of equipment on your boat? Well, it might be the one under your boat, because if you don't get to the lakes successfully, you know, you've got bigger problems to deal with. So I think this one, when you mentioned that Loadmaster wanted to participate, I think this one, I find it interesting. So,
yeah, you know, I don't know, maybe it was just me, because it seemed in recent summers I've seen so many guys stuck on the side of the road with something that they're attending to on the trailer, and it just stuck home that I was seeing it more often than not. And it just made me think of, boy, it might be a good segment to talk about and actually, you know, maybe have the guys at least be thinking about it this time of year as everyone is getting close to get the boats out of storage, or if they're getting gear ready in their garages, to, you know, address some of the things that you see from a safety perspective, and ultimately just making sure you can get to and from the docks as you need to so you can get out on the water. Talking about Loadmaster in particular, the reason that came up is I myself was in the market for a new trailer this year. And I think the only reason I'm qualified to do this segment is the fact that I am not qualified to talk about trailers. And, and I say that because there's so much to think about if you haven't bought a trailer in a while. There's a lot to think about from DOT regs. What boat am I pulling? What are the weights? What's the right size? What are options? What will fit well behind my truck? It just, when I sat down to do my research, I was overwhelmed a bit to say, holy cow, am I making the right choice? And a lot of national built trailers go through a dealer distribution network. And there's nothing wrong with that if you find the right dealer that's educated enough to know the questions or to how to properly size a trailer for the particular boat you're working with. And I came across a few stumbling blocks when I was out there looking around. And when I researched Loadmaster, it's a company that you're working directly with the manufacturer. And it takes, you know, the unknowns between yourself, the dealership, and the factory out of the equation and puts you in direct contact with the engineers as to what you need, whether it's a 16-foot small boat to, you know, a 34, something that's big. It doesn't matter. These guys are going to be able to put what's properly sized and supposed to be under that trailer, or under that boat, I should say. So that's kind of what got us started on that conversation.
Yeah. So I actually owned a Loadmaster a few years ago. It was an awesome trailer, and I again, this is just kind of something from experience, but so I was pulling a 23-foot Grady with that trailer, you know, so I mean, a pretty heavy boat, right? And I was doing it successfully with a half-ton vehicle, and I've actually, so that boat combination, that boat and trailer has actually pulled a lot nicer than some of the smaller boat and trailers that I've kind of owned since. I mean, is that from the construction, or I mean, where is that? why? I mean, I know it was a long trailer. I know the tongue was long. I know those things, but it just really performed well, you know. And again, I was towing that with a half-ton truck. So,
yeah, that, you know, Loadmaster is not doing a one-size-fits-many style from boats. Every trailer they're making is going to be specific to if you have a Lund, if you have a Grady White, if you have a Tierra, if you have a Starcraft. They're building a specific to that, and they're true experts at putting that boat on the center mass of gravity over the axles, whether it's single axle, double, triple, or beyond. They know exactly where the weight displacement needs to be. It fundamentally equates to the proper tongue weight, so you don't feel that jerking and that pulling and that swaying. Everything is balanced properly, and that's one of the values I found coming out of Loadmaster that couldn't find it anywhere else. They're building that trailer specific to the needs that you have, and it leads to just obviously pure safety all the way through. And ultimately the wear and tear on your vehicles. So there's a lot of value there. I was very impressed. And, you know, the unique thing about Loadmaster, if you look at the market that we're talking to today, the Great Lakes region, and whether it's, you know, the South Shores or the North Shores, they service the Canadian market as well. They have all the paperwork ready for you. They do everything for you right out of the gate. And again, the takeaway is that they're building it specific to the boat that you have, that hull design that you're working with.
And again, so how does that process work? I mean, I guess I'm thinking of, you know, when the last, you know, boats that I've purchased have been, you know, package deals, you know, the boat, you know, boat motor trailer type deal. So how does that actually work? I suppose the boat without the trailer, is that kind of what they see, or what, how does that go?
Yeah, their library of boat hulls, even older vintage boats, was quite impressive. So in my case, I have the boat that I was looking to put wheels under, and Loadmaster's just down on the other end of our lake here. They're in Port Clinton, Ohio, and it's a direct phone call. And we'll certainly share all that information at the end of the segment, but it's a direct phone call from yourself right to factory. Again, that's one of the things I really enjoyed about it, is you're working with the factory engineers. And they'll walk through a battery of questions. It doesn't take long. It's pretty simple, quite honestly. And they'll immediately start designing a trailer around that boat. And then essentially they'll come back with a proposal as to saying, this is what we would recommend. This is going to be the best, safest approach to move that boat. It will be set up and designed specifically for it. So it's a very smooth, painless, easy process, just a phone call away.
Cool. Can you talk about just trailer maintenance in general? Can you touch on that? So, you know, whether I think this would obviously apply to any brand trailer, but I mean, what are some of the things maybe that we overlook from a trailer standpoint?
You know, I think we're all guilty of it at some point, but I think the first and foremost is your light assembly. I think we've all been there where maybe a side running light was out, or a turn signal worked, but maybe that brake light didn't. I think that's probably the most often overlooked. A lot of guys will think, well, I'm not going that far, or, you know, it'll be good enough type of thing. And I think right now is a time, you know, if you're in the garage, if you have an opportunity to take a little bit of a warm-up period that we have coming, and just make sure that the basics are working. Looking at brakes, you know, making sure, you know, your brakes are adequate and safe. Coming out of your driveway is you're heading to the ramp. You're ready to enjoy your day, and if a little work now, get all that done up front. We'll make sure you get there safely and get home safely and get back at it again. So I think I would recommend, you know, making sure your brakes, your lights are your first and foremost that you're looking after. You know, you have some structural integrity. You know, really what you'll see is some of these trailers, you know, rust from the inside out, and they may still have a decent look to it, but structurally may not be sound just from some of the rust or some bolts that may have loosened. So, you know, put a wrench and, you know, tighten things down, check everything, take your time and go through it. And last but not least, you know, your bearing assemblies. That's where I'm seeing most of the guys when they're on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's the one that gets me.
Generally going to be because of lack of maintenance. You know, you got to really focus. You know, there's some very easy lubrication technologies out there that go a long way, very easy, a simple zerk fitting, but just making sure that, you know, you've got your bearings in proper order. And you know, I guess one further note is have that spare tire with you. I see a lot of not abandoned boats, but detached from the truck, and it's nothing but the boat trailer and one tire on that trailer. You know exactly what happened. They simply didn't have a spare, and their life could have been a whole lot easier if they would have had a spare. So,
yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, Don. Tires, bearings. There's a question here from Grand Bend Fishing Charters. They have bearing buddies. They continually grease them, but have never had them repacked. How often should they have them repacked? And then questions just about kind of the best tires.
Yeah, I think a heavy duty radial is going to be your first choice, and I think when it comes to your bearing packings, frequency there is obviously I'm assuming it's all freshwater that he's working with, but there's at least every 2 seasons you're going to want to do that. If you're in the salt, that's going to increase your frequencies a bit. And it's going to be relative to how many miles you're pulling. There's some guys that only launch their boats from their house to their slip, and then the trailer sits sits all summer. So when you have that type of infrequency of use, obviously you're going to get a bit better longevity out of having to do that service. But I just think it's being aware of the condition of the trailer overall is the starting point. Just doing those visuals and inspections and the proverbial kicking the tires and looking at things that way.
This is my own question. So you've got your wheels packed, right? You've got your bearings packed. You've got bearing buddies on top of it with the Greeks or it's in there. Are the bearing buddies acting as just kind of an additional? Are they topping off your grease, so to speak? Is that how that's actually working?
Yeah, basically, when you look at that Zerk fitting and you take the grease gun and then you employ that grease into it, you're filling the cavity that the grease is basically deteriorated. So you're filling the void and just packing that entire house. And that Zerk fitting is really just streamlining and making it convenient. It's just a nice, easy way to connect. It's clean. You put the cover dust cap back over it, and you're off and running. And it's very easy to know as you fill them how that's working, because that faceplate is essentially working back towards you, and you can tell that your cavity is full of those bearings.
You want to be careful not to overfill them too. Is that seems to be where my rationale is if a little is good, a lot is better, and that seems to maybe not. Might not.
Yeah, that can work against you when you overpack them. And what happens is the bearings will get set in the race, and you stop the lubrication or the movement of the grease. With the bearing buddies, it's very easy to figure or see that happening. It's when you overfill them, you'll start to see the grease actually extrude around that perimeter of that face cap, kind of indicating you're putting too much in there. You basically want to push that spring loaded. You want to push it until that face basically just comes out to the end of the hub assembly, and that's pretty much the indicator that you're covered.
Gotcha. Scan some questions there, Chris.
Yeah, let's. Ron Winter's got a good question, I think, and he's asking about you see a trend for electric brakes over surge brakes for trailers in that 2,000-pound capacity and up.
Yes, yeah, we're definitely seeing, like for Loadmaster, their electric drum brakes is a standard. Now they'll do different configurations, but that's what they're using, whether it's a single axle, 3,500-pound axle, or if they're doing a quad axle, they're going to outfit every axle, every tire with the electric brake assembly. It ties directly to the vehicle. So as you engage your brake, it's engaging the brakes on the trailer at the same time, giving you better displacement, longevity on your brakes, and ultimately safer.
Very cool. Another question here. Is there an opportunity for backup cameras, waterproof ones for trailers, as an industry option like you see on vehicles in the boat trailer world?
Yeah, that's absolutely an option. It certainly is. It's out there already, especially for the bigger trailers. And even for the smaller trailers, you can put that option on there if you're navigating and you want to come alongside your garage, or you have a tight area you want to help navigate through. You can absolutely incorporate that into what's displayed on your screen in your truck.
Awesome. Is people looking for more information on Loadmaster and what they're all about? Where's the best place for them to find it?
The easiest way would be Loadmaster at CROS.net. That's their website. They can jump on that. Their direct line, as I said, a great value to Loadmaster is calling direct. You begin the conversation directly with their engineers, and that number is 1-800-258-6115. and that'll get you started. You know, for guys that are looking at possibly upgrading or getting a new trailer, that website right on their homepage is a very simple form. It's free, no obligation. You punch in your specifics to your boat, and it gets you started on what would be required for the best trailer.
Cool. Can I grab one more question?
Yeah.
This is a good one because I've asked it myself, and name just unflashed here, but is there such thing as a truly maintenance-free bearing?
I'm going to say no. Anything that moves is mechanical, and it's essentially going to fail, even with some of the oil bath applications and different things. And again, I'm no expert when it comes to bearing assemblies, but from my own experience, you know, I wouldn't say there's ever going to be a complete trouble-free. You know, you want to keep your eye on what's back there. Trevor, you said it best. It's what comes first, the chicken or the egg. The trailer it's an equally important part as the boat itself. So you just want to do your maintenance on like you would your boat on your trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was Jimmy Sachs on Facebook asked that question. But yeah, I think that I know that one's always in my mind too. It's like, oh, this is a maintenance-free bearing. Well, is it really? Because you're probably not going to figure that out until you're on the I-90 and
and your tire passes you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Don, it's been great having you on for 2 different segments, and I know you've had an opportunity to share some of your knowledge and what you've got going on. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about? You got a couple more minutes. If there's something you want to talk about and get off your chest, now's the time.
No, you know, guys, all's good here. And hey, you know, shout out to you guys again for putting all this together. I know it's no easy task, so thank you for that, and thank you for having me and Okuma and the opportunity to share some thoughts on Loadmaster, and looking forward to getting back and seeing everybody soon.
Likewise.
Awesome. Captain Don Rupert, thanks so much for coming on the show, and we'll see you around soon, hopefully.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Captain Don Rupert, and in just a moment we're going to have another one come on, but what do you think so far? We're about almost 2 hours into this thing now.
I'm not as nervous as I was. I mean, so I didn't sleep a whole lot last night. I mean, it's like, what could go wrong? Well,
a lot of different things.
A lot of different things.
There's a lot of moving parts here.
We just kind of navigated one that we seemed to figure it out thanks to you. But yeah, so far I think so good. You know, anybody that's watching out there, let us know what you think too. Is this something that, you know, in a post-COVID world we want to do more of? I mean, is it? I don't know.
I've been impressed with the audience though. We've got been hovering around that 150 mark on Facebook, and I know there's several people on YouTube as well. We're not monitoring YouTube as much right now. We're seeing your comments, which is great, but I don't know how many people are watching on YouTube, but we've been running around that 150 on Facebook. So just want to thank everybody for watching, and thanks for checking it out. This was something that kind of was something we just kind of decided to do. So we weren't sure what was going to happen, how it was going to go. But
you asked that question, why do you want to do this? And then I think the right answer was because we can. We could. We have the stuff. We kind of, maybe knew what we were doing, and so far so good. So
we're winging it, and like I said, maybe some things won't go super smooth. We're kind of learning as we go here, but so far it seems like everything is going well. So let's bring on our next guest. And how's it going, Chris?
Trevor, it's going great, man. It's sunny here in beautiful Ohio. So we got ice out, water, you know, boats in the water, and people catching walleye. What could be better?
You're, from what I understand, this is presentation day for you. Is that right?
Yeah, I just finished with the Ohio State Sea Grant, the charter captain of the conference. So
cool.
Yeah, so good. Happy to be here sharing some knowledge. So.
Awesome. Well, a big part of Jughead says hi. Our neighbors.
Hi, Jug.
Or he says hi, by the way. So before I forget that, but a big part of the sports show circuit, boat show circuit is electronics. You know, talking about electronics, looking at electronics for good reason. There's a lot of information. There's the capabilities of the units across the board are fantastic. There's a lot of features, a lot of things to know. So that's we really wanted to kind of hit the electronics part of it, you know, so somebody that's used to walking down the aisle and looking through the different manufacturers, the different products that are out there, to give them the opportunity to do that. So it worked out super good that you were doing your the Charter Captains Conference just before this, because you had already prepared this presentation. And I guess from there, I'll let you kind of roll with that, and then we'll try to interrupt you maybe with a few questions along the way. So I'll give it to you.
All right, we'll see if this thing wants to roll through or not.
Okay.
Let's try sharing the screen.
I actually have it up. If you can look down at your screen, I have it up for the audience. So
okay. So if you want to just hit from the current slide. There we go. All right. So again, Chris Molina, I'm the territory manager for the Great Lakes. Cover Illinois out through Ohio. Used to do some time in Wisconsin and Minnesota as well. Been with the company for 10 years, and things have changed a lot, and we're really getting to the point now that we're looking at a complete fishing system. So it's not just as we started out in 1957 with Daryl Lawrence and the fish locator, the little green box. We've moved now into MFDs with advanced sonar. We've got the ability to control our boats with trolling motors, autopilots, and then the situational awareness. Let's go on to the next one here. So again, here's the original little green box. This is where it all started back in 1957. And from this little invention, it's now $1 billion business, right? Marine electronics, that is.
MFD is multifunction display, correct?
Correct, yeah. So, we used to have a chart plotter. We used to have a fish finder, maybe a radar. And they were 3 different boxes. Well, now we've got all of that information on one screen. So where I used to have maybe 3, 5, or 7-inch boxes, or screens, now I've got a 16-inch screen that's showing me everything that we can do. So like with this slide, we're looking at in the upper left-hand corner, that's the control for a Ghost trolling motor, which we brought out last year. Or we could also use that same interface to control the main engine autopilot. To the right of that in the top middle, that's our new active target live sonar. So this is the big thing following on our friends from Kansas invention last year. This is now our version. It'll work with our HDS Lives, our HDS Carbons, and our new Elite FSs. And this is where you're going to see that jig moving and that fish come and hit it. And the funny thing with this technology is you've got to retrain yourself how to set a hook. Because what's happening with guys when they're using this the first time is they're ripping that bait right out of the fish's mouth. They see it, they pull it, there's no weight on that hook, and it's gone. So it's really, video game fishing is here, and it's probably here to stay. So over here in the right-hand side, that's our chart with what we call structure map. And this is a cool thing that we've had since 2012, but we really haven't talked about it much. But what structure map is I take the side scan sonar, I get rid of the vertical water column, and I slam the bottom together. And as I drive the boat, it lays it out on the chart behind me. So if I want to go, say, record a bay or a harbor so that I've got customized maps, I know exactly that I've covered every inch of that. And it also gives me a better understanding of how the contour lines that we see on our maps, what they actually look like in the real world underwater. When we go down to the lower left corner, that's what we call down scan. So this uses the same frequency that we use in the side scan sonar. But what we're doing is we're getting really high definition imagery of flooded timber, of wrecks, of rock piles. So you're going to see the hardscape. And about 2 years ago, we brought out a feature called Fish Reveal. So that's where you can see all those multicolored hooks from our 2D sonar now overlaid on the high definition detail at the bottom. In the middle of the screen, we've got radar. And then on the lower right-hand side, we've got our down scan, our chart, and we brought in a video feed. So actually, we're using our phone to cast the MLF onto the screen so I don't miss anything while I'm out fishing.
Cool.
Let's pop on to the next one here. So again, multifunction display, or MFD. So this is just where I can put all of this different technology into one screen. So if you move on to the next one. So this is our current Lowrance lineup. So we've got our HDS Lives. These are the top of the line. It's got the fastest processor. It's got the best screen with the widest viewing angle, the most color, the greatest clarity, and high definition. These units are going to be what we call networkable. So that means I can take an Ethernet cable between 4 units and share my sonar, my chart chip, my waypoints, the stereo, the trolling motor. All that data is accessible on any one of those 4 units. When we go down into the Elite FS, which is 7 or 9 inch screens, and on the Lives we go from 7 to 16 inch screens. When we go to the FS, it's 7 or 9 inch screens, but these units are also now Ethernet networkable. So I could have a 12 or a 16 inch HDS at my helm, and then I could have a 9 up at the bow and a 9 back at the stern, Elite FS, and they're all going to share the data. So it's really making it more affordable. The FS, the processor's not as fast as the Live, screen's not quite as good as the Live, but it's an awfully powerful system that will do radar now, will do autopilot control, trolling motor control, side scan, down scan, active target, all the good stuff. And this has the NEMA interface, so again, I can do the autopilot, I can do engine integration. When we go down to the hook reveal, so this is kind of our weekend warrior, fun fisherman. This is what we used to call the old combo unit. So it's going to be a chart plotter, and then it'll have some type of sonar. So typically it would be traditional sonar with down scan, or I could upgrade it to down scan triple, what we call triple shot. So it's the down scan, the side scan, and the traditional sonar. The thing to be aware of in that is I can't buy what we call the split shot. So that's the down scan and the traditional sonar, and then add a transducer to make it a side scan. So if you want the side scan, you got to buy that unit then. But the nice thing with these units is you're going to be in these for, say, roughly $250 to maybe $800, $900. Where the middle ground, we're going to be in the $800 to $1,100 range, and the HDS will take us from around $1,100 up to $6,000. So it just depends how much budget you got and how big you need to see. This is an example of a HDS 16 Live, and so we now have a 6-panel split. So again, we've got radar and autopilot control on the left. We've got the down scan and 2D in the middle, and we've got side scan and the chart in the right-hand side. Next screen, if you go on from there. So this is an example of Gull Island Shoal in Lake Erie, and at the top of this, we've got the international border between the US and Canada. So that's what this hash mark is. This is showing us contour lines, spot sounding. This little black triangle is our vessel. So it's showing me move through. And it's showing me, again, those contour lines. So we talked a little bit earlier about that with that structure map. You know, I look at all these lines and, okay, it's squiggly. I don't know if I understand that or I don't. Well, as we're getting shallower, we're getting darker, and then we also see like there's a ledge here and it drops off pretty quickly, and we go from about 2 feet down to 33 feet. So this is, you know, important information depending on what the conditions are doing, what side of this shoal do I want to be on, where do I want to be fishing. And so we want to use our charting to get information based on weather conditions, time of year, to know, hey, this is the area that I want to go fish today. We don't want to just go randomly drive around a lake looking for fish. So just move on to the next one, please. One of the things that we do with charting is waypoints. And I love the system that we have in Lowrance and Simrad. So when you hit your waypoint button, we're going to get this pop up, and it's going to start off as numbers. But you've got the ability to go in there and enter in a specific name. So this is Gull Island Shoal, or it could be based on the date, or whatever system works for you. If Trevor calls me up and says, hey, I'm hitting them over at this latitude, longitude, I'm going to come down and highlight this little box here with the lat long, type that in, be able to save that waypoint, and then go to it using my trolling motor, my autopilot, or just steering the boat. One of the other things that's great is we've got this icon. So there's 64 different icons that you can pick. What I love about it, though, is we've got this little color wheel. So let's say in 2021, walleye is going to be a Christmas tree. Well, I now have 7 different colors of walleye. That means I can come up with 7 different classes of weight for walleye. And all of a sudden, over years of fishing, I'm going to start to see, hey, you know, Trevor's coming down and we want to have a fish fry, we're going to go over to this area and catch a bunch of like freezer pleasers. But hey, it's tournament day and Chris and I need to go get some money. The big girls are hanging out over here and that's where I'm going to go. So by utilizing a system that works for you, you can really start to gather a lot of data about what's going on in your local waters. And you can start to become much more intent on what you're doing rather than just kind of randomly driving around looking for stuff.
That color coding is cool. I can definitely, that's like the light bulb goes on there to have that historical quick reference where it's not just a waypoint, it's a waypoint that I'm hitting every year and it's producing that's.
And like some of my guys will do a different waypoint for when they get a strike. And then at the end of the day, they'll go back and they'll edit that stuff down, get rid of some stuff. And if we'll go down to the next slide here, this is underneath the options, you'll get this little pop-up. And so now I can actually have my fishing log in my waypoint system. So here we were running a Reef Runner 800, 120 feet back. It was overcast with 9 knots out of the west. We caught a 9-pound walleye. So again, it's about collecting data. If you want it, you can be very systematic, very scientific about your approach to fishing. If you don't care, just push the button and have a number. So
cool.
We'll move on to the sonars. So, again, this is kind of where we started. So this is actually still capable to do on the units now. So on the left-hand side, we've got the Flasher, which is what the little green box originally was. I'm sure you guys probably understand that a lot better than I do because I'm not an ice fisherman. And I know that's what you all use. But that's a nice thing, too, is if you've got a unit that you use on your boat, you could put this into an ice pack and still be able to do your traditional 2D sonar as well as have the Flasher. On the right side of the screen here is what we call 2D. So this is your traditional sonar. So we've got from the surface down to the bottom, which is the yellow here. We've got some standing timber, which is all this red clutter here. And you can see the occasional yellow fish that's suspended into that display. And on the right side of your screen, this is the freshest data. The left side is historical. So what's happening instantly is right here. This is all a histogram, right? The cool thing with our system is that we record this in about a 15-minute loop, and it's got a GPS position stamp to it. So I can actually rewind, like, hey, I saw a drop-off, or I saw a rock pile that was loaded up earlier. I can go back, find that rock pile, drop a waypoint on the underwater structure, not where the boat's at right now, and be able to go back to that with my trolling motor, my autopilot. So it's a very cool system. Here's an example with the 3 sonars going. So on the left, we've got our down scan with the fish reveal. On the bottom, we've got the right side of a side scan sonar, and then the upper right-hand corner is our traditional sonar. So we can see a lot of similarity between the down scan and the 2D with the fish marks in the middle, okay? But I want you to look kind of behind this little depth temperature box. There's a yellow blob back here. Well, that's the sailboat that's sitting on its bottom on the bottom. And so this is the difference between 2-dimensional sonar and the down scan. The very high frequency, it's a very wide, thin fan-shaped beam that we send out. That gives us this great definition of the hardscape, but I'm still getting the fish marks that we're used to from the 2D now on the down scan. When I look at the side scan, whoop, go back a sec.
I'm sorry, Chris.
No worries, Chris. It's a Chris on Chris crime.
Yeah, the way that I've got this screen set up, I don't.
Okay, no worries. We'll get back to that. So, but what we've got here again is just your 2D sonar. What I want you to consider too is you've heard us, people have always talked about frequency and about beam angle. So in traditional broadband sonar, we would have a 200 kilohertz frequency with maybe an 83 or possibly a 50 kilohertz. And the thing with frequency is it's inverse, meaning the higher the number, the higher the definition, but the less coverage that you get. So in this example, we're in 20 feet of water. So if I'm at 200 kilohertz, that screen on the bottom is showing me roughly 4 feet of the water column. So if I got that many fish in 4 feet of water, that's a very very high density screen. So I know there's something going on there. This is a great area to fish. But consider this, if I go to 50 kilohertz in 20 feet of water, I'm going to be looking at probably around 16 to 17 feet. If I'm in 83 kilohertz, that's going to be maybe around 10 to 12 feet at the bottom of the lake. So that frequency dictates how deep you go and how much ground coverage you have. So if you go on to the next one. Oh, and I should mention too, we also have the chirp frequencies, and so that would be high, medium, and low chirp. So that's going to be high chirp is like 200 kilohertz. The medium chirp is the 83, and the low is the 50. And what chirp does is instead of like a single ping, like if you ever seen a submarine movie and they said you hear the ping of the sonar, that's broadband. With chirp, what we do is the processors are so fast, I can send a lot more information or energy into the water, get it back, and see a lot more clarity. So if on broadband, I've got a perch that's 10 inches off the bottom, I'm going to see that as an individual target. With the chirp frequency, I can take it down to 4 inches off the bottom to separate it off the bottom. So it's just that much more sensitive.
I knew this was going to happen with electronic segments, but we're getting tons of questions in here, and it's just probably not possible to hit them all in a 20-second. You want to grab one out, Chris?
Yeah, Chris, we're running down here. We got about 4 minutes to go here, so I just want to kind of maybe get a few questions in. Looks like someone's asking what options exist for autopilot for Mercury to main engine with hydraulics. Does this work in conjunction with routes?
So if it's a Mercury Verado system, we can use, and it's going to depend whether it's a single engine or a twin engine. On a single engine installation under 30 feet, we have what's called the hydraulic drive pilot. That will work with an HDS unit or one of our Simrad Go or NSS units. There's an extra fitting kit, an extra hose kit that you need because the Verado is a high pressure system, but it absolutely will work with it. And those units, you're about $1,500 for the autopilot and about another $400 for the fitting kits for the Verado.
I like to say that autopilot saved my marriage, actually. So that's a cheap date, but
well, it's the ability to go out on your own too, right?
Yeah.
I had a 28-foot center console, and I tried setting lines without an autopilot. That didn't work. So as soon as I got that autopilot in, those days that your buddy can't make it or he doesn't show up, you're still going out fishing.
Josh Campo has a question. He wants you to touch on the new S series in the Evo 3 product portfolio.
So on the Simrad Evo 3S, what we've done is we put a faster processor. So when we come out with a new line of electronics, it's typically has to do with processor speed. So processors have become less expensive, so we can do more stuff. And as we're doing more and more with autopilot and trolling motor and engine integration, now we're doing things like digital switching, where we're turning your live wells, your lights all on and off, the blower motors, all that stuff. You need more engine behind it. So the faster the processor, the better the screens change, the more stuff that you can do. So that's where the 3S came out over the Evo 3. It's just a faster processor upgrade. All the same functionality that we had before, though.
Chris, we've got to have you on again sometime. We'll put you on the Great Lakes Fishing Podcast so we can get through your whole presentation. Sorry we didn't get to all of it today, but
I'm a talented talker, so sorry, boys, but
yeah,
great to be with you.
We got through it as much as we could. If people want to know more about what you guys are up to, where can they find more information?
Lowrance.com or simradyachting.com.
Awesome. Chris, we got 1 minute left. Something else you want to bring up in the next minute?
Well, I want to thank you guys for doing this because, I miss seeing you, Trevor. It's always fun being at the shows, and it's been kind of strange this last year.
Right.
But it's a great venue. You guys are doing a great job. Thanks for taking care of the community. And just a little shout out to my friends at Loadmaster here in Port Clinton. They built me a beautiful custom-built trailer, and I could load that 28-foot boat, and it totally wasn't even behind the truck. So
that's the same thing I had. So, yeah.
Loadmaster trailers are top-notch. Actually, Chris, I'm looking right now at the queue. We've got other people that are supposed to be on, and I'm not seeing them on right now. So we've got somebody coming up here, but right now they are not in our waiting room. They're not in the green room. So do you want to go through a little bit more of your PowerPoint?
Yeah, we don't need the PowerPoint necessarily, but I'll just talk a little bit about our new active target. And again,
that's a big one because troller, that's like, so from a trolling application, we're hearing a lot about, is this technology applicable to trolling? So
absolutely. Yeah. So the cool thing with this is it can be mounted onto a trolling motor shaft or onto the engine tube, and it can be mounted down looking forward, or what we call scout mode. So that's where it comes up on top of the or on the horizontal plane, and you're looking out forward. So I think that's going to be particularly useful for the trollers and for the casters. So I love casting the rocks. But again, going around trying to find specific fish, you're going to be using that scout mode a lot in the walleye world. Where when you're drop shotting, doing that kind of thing on bass, I think you'll use the down and the forward.
So with that live, so you'll actually be able to look live of where.
So it's
trolling into.
I believe it's a 70 or 80 degree angled beam looking forward. So you'll be able to see about 150 feet out in front is the practical limits on it, and it's really cool because again you're going to see fish swimming by, chasing targets, chasing other bait fish. It's basically having an underwater camera. And again, trolling speeds, you're going to be great. Obviously, you're not going to be doing it above, 5 miles an hour. And we do have an option for a transom mount too. So if you're dedicated trolling, you certainly put it on the back of the boat and go from there.
So transom mount on the back of the boat, you're able to watch fish interact with your spread?
The transom mount's going to be looking down. It's not going to be in that back, but that may be something we need to look at and see if that's something that we can make.
It'd be cool, but yeah, I mean, that's I could see that being an issue as far as okay.
Yep. But again, you're going to see where the fish are locating, how they're reacting, and like I said earlier, with the sight fishing, you got to learn how to set that hook. So video fishing's here. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Chris, one of the questions that we got, I think it's a great question. A lot of these new toys, new bells and whistles, lots of cool stuff out there. But if we don't have the right power supply, none of it works. So what do you kind of recommend for a battery for some of these really high power systems?
Well, it's absolutely necessary with today's modern electronics to have a dedicated battery. If you don't have the physical room, you definitely have to have a dual purpose battery. So you don't want to just have a starting battery because they're not designed to be wore down all day running this equipment and they get charged back up. They're just designed to give you a burst of energy to start your motor. So I'd highly recommend a Group 31 or bigger deep cycle battery. The other thing that we recommend is take 10 gauge dual cable up to the bow to a Blue Seas fuse block. That way, you've got clean power everywhere, because sometimes with rigging that's done at the factory, maybe something got nicked. So I think if you do it yourself, take it up to a Blue Seas panel, you're going to have clean power. You're not going to have any issues. And you definitely want to have a battery that's isolated away from your starting and from your trolling motors.
Awesome. Well, Chris, really appreciate you coming on. We got Tom coming up. Well, now we just lost him again. He's up there, but we're going to let you go, get on to your day, on your Saturday. But really appreciate you coming on and talking with us. And I think you had a lot of good information, a lot of good stuff for people to learn.
Hey, great being with you guys. Really appreciate it. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Take care.
Thanks, Chris.
So we're kind of running into a few technology glitches. We got his PowerPoint up. We've seen Tom come up and come back down, but we have a guest coming up here, Lake Michigan Tournament Trails. Tom was up and now he's back down. But what do you think so far on the show and how things are going, other than a couple of hiccups there so far?
Yeah, I knew the electronics ones would be challenging because there's just so much ground to cover there. So many. Tom's in there. We're watching him here. He's in the waiting room.
He was in the waiting room.
So yeah, once we working through some of these, but yeah, the electronics ones are tough because there's just so much ground to cover, so many options out there.
So yeah, we've got Tom coming up Lake Michigan Tournament Trail. We got Greg Yarborough, which we've seen him a few times in the comments. He's up there right now in the comments, coming up with Starcraft Boats, and he will be on at 12:20 Eastern. And then Lance Valentine, I've seen him pop in and out of the green room a few times as well. He's going to come in and talk teaching fishing at 12:40. And then we have the catering staff will be here for an hour break as we get our steak dinner, lobster, all that kind of stuff coming up at 1 o'clock. So everybody will get a chance to go ahead and relax, if you're not relaxed enough. Like we were saying last night, I think the cool thing about this show is you're not driving anywhere, you're not parking anywhere, you're not walking around and trying to figure out what to do next. Everybody can sit around and kind of get their gear and get it all ready to go. Looks like Tom is back, so we're going to bring Tom into the show.
Last night, I think the cool thing about
there we go.
Hey, Tom.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can, but can you take down? It sounds like you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube. Can you turn that off so we don't get the echo there? Looks like Tom is back, so we're going to bring Tom. There we go. Yeah, can you hear us still now, Tom?
I can see you guys. Can you see me?
Yes.
We can. Yeah,
Hey.
welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for doing this. This has been awesome. I've watched every second. I'm getting texts from different guys. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, it's a grand experiment, as I told you on the phone. We're learning with you, so we're wigging it. So
Well, I hope I don't blow it for you today, because so far
that's not going to happen. So we'll jump right into it here. You recently just took over the Lake Michigan Tournament Trail. I mean, probably the most challenging circumstances you could imagine for in-person events and all these kind of things. Kind of give us a story of how you got involved and what made you want to take this leap of faith at this point in history. So.
Well, there's nothing that I would rather do than spend time out on the lake. And I've been passionate about Lake Michigan sport fishing ever since I was 9 years old. I had a charter business for 40 years. I love to tournament fish. As I saw tournament participation dwindling and some of the excitement dwindling, that was just simply unacceptable. I had a chance to talk with Scotty McDonald, the son of the founder, Fred McDonald. Understood there might be an opportunity as Fred was getting a little bit older that maybe I could have an opportunity to participate and join forces. And that's exactly what I did. Fred McDonald started this 19 years ago and just did a wonderful job. Scott has been with him since day one. And we wanted to give Fred the opportunity to enjoy some of his retirement as he's getting up there in age. And again, just a really special opportunity for me to get involved. And holy cow, I don't think this was a tough time to get involved. I think it was a great time and a great opportunity. And we are just so excited for 2021. We're so excited to get this COVID garbage in the rearview mirror, to get our boats back in the water and go catch some fish.
Lemonade out of lemons.
You got it. That's exactly right.
So what's going to stay the same? What's going to change? I mean, from a high level.
Everything you love about the tournament trail is going to stay the same. It's just going to get better. So a couple of differences. We have tripled the cash prizes in all of our events. We'll talk about that. We have brought in some incredible sponsors that are, donating all sorts of time, product, dollars to help build the trail back out. We've started a new event called the Founders Cup, which we're really excited. When I joined forces with Scott, I really wanted to do something to honor Fred, the guy that really put this thing on the map. So we started the Founders Cup in honor of the founder, Fred McDonald. That's a separate event. $10,000 guaranteed purse for the Founders Cup. It's a multi-port event. We're really hoping to get a lot of our fishermen and a lot of the teams to fish more than one event, especially the guys that have the ability to load their boats up on trailers. So we started that new event. We put a whole bunch of money in there. We got a title sponsor for the Founders Cup, and it's Founders Brewing. How cool is that? So
how convenient.
One of my high school buddies started Founders Brewing years ago, and when we started the Founders Cup, no better sponsor than Founders Brewing. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but all kinds of excitement, specifically more money, more cash, more prizes. All of our events are back except for one. Unfortunately, our Onekama event has to be canceled. The owner of the marina there passed away. We're going to have a nice tribute in our magazine. But other than that, all of our events are back. We're going to have just a rock star year in 2021.
Maybe I should back up just a second. So again, I always make the assumption that we all know everything, or that somebody watching knows what the Lake Michigan Tournament Trail is. Maybe for somebody who's never fished a tournament or never been involved, how would you explain it to them?
So for years and years, individual ports have had their own tournament. And Fred came along and decided, boy, wouldn't it be neat if we could kind of tie all of these tournaments together and have a central place where people can go and get information and review the scores. So we started a circuit or a series. So each individual port has their own tournament. The 333 tournament series, which is us, we come in to support those local tournaments, and then we run our own event in conjunction with that local port. So all of the information is available at tournamenttrail.net. And when you go to tournamenttrail.net, there's a button that will show you all of the different tournaments. You can click on the individual link. It will take you to that tournament's registration site. You can also register for our 333 tournament. So at every one of these ports, there's a 333 championship series tournament. And at each port, the top prize for the 333 is $2,000. Second prize is $1,000. Third prize is $500. And then 4 through 15, there's prize packages that you can win. And the prize packages are just off the chain, great stuff from a lot of the manufacturers we're talking to today. So Moonshine Lures, Pro Troll, Dreamweaver, Salmon Candy, Offshore Tackle, I mean, Fish Hawk, I mean, you name it. Just really, really great sponsors. So each tournament, we have a 333 event, which is great. You can also enter the Founders Cup. The Founders Cup is, like I said, multi-port. So for $100, you can enter a Founders Cup tournament, and you can fish as many of those as you would like. And at the end of the year, we'll take your 3 best scores to determine the winner. So for $300, you could enter the Founders Cup and fish as many events as you want, or you could just pay $100 per tournament to be in that Founders Cup. At each tournament, we also have the 333, and that's a $100 entry. You catch 3 fish over 2 days. So this is an opportunity for everyone. There's no pro and AM division. It's all one division. It's great for the guys wanting to get into tournament fishing, to find out about it. And what we're so excited about and why we think we can bring more and more people into the sport is because we want folks to experience the fun and excitement of a tournament, to go to a captain's meeting, to see our display board, but more importantly, to network with other fishermen, network with manufacturers, learn about the sport, the different products. And we really think by having this Founders Cup multi-port event, putting big money behind it, that we're going to get a lot of guys that maybe not fished tournaments in the past to give it a try. And my goal is, you know, Grandpa takes his grandson out to fish a tournament. And now grandson gets hooked on big lake fishing just like Tom did when I was 9 years old. And we really think that we can bring more families, more people, not only the pros, but the AMs, anybody that loves the outdoors and fishing. We want them to be a part of our tournament series.
Yeah, tell us about that, Tom. I think it's to do something like what you guys are doing, you need to expand fields. Why should someone who's never fished in a tournament before, why should they make the leap and jump into tournament fishing?
Well, for one thing, it's $100. I don't know what you could do and have as much fun than what you're going to do at a tournament for $100. $100 enters you in the tournament, and now you can participate and you can be a part of it. And you can, like I said, I think the networking piece, just being able to talk to other guys, talking to guys at the weigh-in station, talking to guys at the fish cleaning station, finding out what they're doing, how they're doing it, the camaraderie, the friendships, it's absolutely incredible. In addition to that, you know, all of these manufacturers that we work with that we're helping to promote their products, we want you to come and see us. We have our own boat in the tournament. The boat's called Safe Bunny. It's my boat. On the side of it, it says Tournament Trail. I want people coming to the dock, and I want them to ask me questions. Tom, how do I run a double diver setup? Tom, are you running drop weights? Tom, how do I use my Garmin electronics? Tom, I love the C deck on your boat. Where do I get that? We want to help people and promote the sport, promote the industry. And I guarantee you, if you fish a tournament, you will become a better fisherman. There is just no doubt about it. You're going to learn some cool techniques and just have a great network of people you can draw from.
Yeah, the learning part is big.
Yeah, getting around people. And
yeah,
I fished not some Great Lakes tournaments, but some other tournaments. And I think the thing that you learn the most is how to fish efficiently, have your gear set up before you get on the water, because A lot of people don't. When they go out to go fish, they're very casual. When things happen, they happen. But when you're tournament fishing, every second counts, and having your gear in a spot that is ready to go all the time is a big deal. And I think once you get that into your normal program, you just will become a lot more successful.
Well, I agree. And I just want to bring some young kids into the sport. I want to bring that next generation along. I want them to feel the excitement that I've enjoyed my whole life of competitive tournament fishing. But here's the bottom line, guys. We're talking about catching 3 fish over 2 days. Anybody can compete in that tournament, whether you're a pro boat with just a big 42-foot Viking, or you've got an 18-foot Starcraft. It doesn't matter, man. This is open to everybody, and the cash, the prizes, dynamite. And like I said, we're talking good stuff. So in addition to those 3 top cash prizes, there's a big fish prize at each of these tournaments. And there's 4 categories. So we're going to pay the biggest king, the biggest lake trout, the biggest steelhead, and then there's a combination prize. And each of those 4 categories are sponsored by just great manufacturers. So for example, the Big King is sponsored by Pro Troll, and they're going to give you $333 at each tournament if you catch the biggest king. Pro Troll is also putting a flasher in all of our captain's bags. So when you sign up, we're going to give you a captain's bag, and you're going to have a flasher in there, plus some other cool products. Incredible. The Big Trout, that's sponsored this year by Gull Lake Marine. They are selling some really cool boats, Robolos and Boston Whalers. We've got the big steelhead is sponsored by Moonshine. I think Moonshine's got some of the best glow products on the planet. The combination prize is sponsored by Cannon Hummingbird. Again, all of those prizes, cash, $333 at each of our events this year, plus the $2,000 top prize, $1,000 second prize, $500 third prize. It's going to be spectacular what we have to offer and the excitement we're going to add to all of these already super cool tournaments.
Yeah, the 3 fish format gives even somebody like me, it gives you a chance to compete at some level where it's you should be able to catch 3 fish in a couple days, so that's great.
Well, exactly. And like I said, you're going to have a great time. You have an opportunity to fish some multiple ports, check out different marinas, different restaurants. It's just kind of fun to make this a family yet competitive type arrangement. And the whole goal here, guys, is we just want to get more people involved in Lake Michigan, boating, fishing. We want to promote all of our sponsors and our advertisers to help them. And we really are excited for 2021. I think we're just going to absolutely explode this year. And the more people that we can get involved, the better. So I would encourage everybody that's watching today, let your friends know about the series. Our award-winning magazine is at the publisher right now. That'll be out real soon. We'll have those magazines out in all the sports shops. But again, go to our website, tournamenttrail.net. You can click on the events. You can see all of the events. Click on those buttons to see specific what that tournament's all about. You can see who all of our sponsors are. You can click on their buttons and go right to their websites. Just a plethora of awesome fishing information.
Tom, a couple questions. Josh Campo is on. He would like to know about possibly expanding the Manistee events to include Arcadia. And then he's also asking about observers this year. And are you going to keep streaming the captain's meetings? He seemed to really like that.
Great question. So COVID forced us to make some adjustments last year. Unfortunately, we lost about half of our tournaments due to COVID. The ones that we were able to do last year, we did those virtually. So virtual captain's meeting, virtual weigh-ins. And yes, we're going to do the same thing this year when necessary. So first tournament of the year is coming up here end of April in Michigan City. Michigan City has announced that they are going to be 100% virtual. So virtual captain's meeting, virtual awards ceremony, and virtual weigh-in. The weigh-in is live streamed, so you can see live people weighing in their fish. Our scoring system is great. Thank you to Trax Tech and to Dreamweaver who have sponsored the live stream broadcast. So it's going to be port by port by port, what each port decides to do in terms of virtual versus live. We are expecting with the new vaccine out there and the progress that we're making, we are expecting that most of our events will be in live, just like normal, but If we can't do it live, we'll still have all the events. They'll just simply be virtual. With regard to observers, again, each port has that authority to determine how they want their tournament to run. But it looks like, and including Michigan City, it looks like we are not going to have observers. So that can make it a little bit easier for our team scheduling wise, and they don't have to get another person. So it's kind of touch and go, but I would say probably no observers for most of the season, and probably everything is going to be live with the exception of these first tournaments of the year. We could be doing those virtually like we're going to in Michigan City.
Thanks, Tom. Really appreciate you coming on. One more question someone's asking about. Have you guys thought about doing youth classes?
I'm sorry, they're doing what?
Youth classes for payouts and just a youth setup.
Great question. So each tournament, again, has some discretion as far as what they do. A lot of our tournaments, the Friday before the weekend Pro-Am is a ladies and kids tournament. And those have been super, super popular. And a lot of the events throughout the year are offering that ladies and kids tournament the Friday before the Pro-Am. We don't have any specific classes specifically for youth, but there are other organizations that we work with that do specifically have that, and we'd be happy to refer you to those people.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Tom, for coming on. Really appreciate you kind of coming on and doing some talking with us and sharing this new opportunity for people. And I think it would be a great chance for people, especially there's a lot of new people coming into the sport, to get an opportunity to do some competition. And like you said, the entry cost is very minimal. And I think when people start getting into tournament fishing, they really understand how to dial in what they're doing.
Well, once you fish a tournament, be ready because you're going to get hooked and you're going to want to fish more of them. And again, we welcome all the anglers out there. We're looking forward to seeing you on the trail. We've got some really exciting announcements, so stay tuned to Facebook and check out our website, and we'll see you at that first tournament.
All right, Tom, take care. Have a great rest of your Saturday, great rest of the weekend, and look forward to getting on the water soon.
Thank you very much, guys. You're doing a great job today.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. All right, so that does it for Tom Jacobs. We got a couple more segments coming up here before we take lunch. And again, back to some housekeeping items. And like I said, we've been doing this really pretty much on the fly and kind of how it goes. And we're running our own production here while we're hosting the show. For those of you who are joining the show as guests, if you guys can come out into the green room 10 minutes ahead of time and just hang out there, you can just watch the show from the green room and see it, because the last few guests we've kind of, right now, we're waiting for our next guest right now. So if you guys can come on early and just kind of hang out in the green room, we can bring you up when it's time to come on to the show. But so far, looks like things have been going well. We've been rolling through, and we are going to have to maybe do a little bit of walking around here. Our StarCraft Boats guest is not with us, but I see
he's been in. So
he's been in. Yeah, we've seen him in the comments, but he's not in the green room right now. But I see a guy who is in the green room, and I know that Lance Valentine, if we needed him to talk some few extra minutes, he's a guy that could definitely talk a few extra minutes. He's getting the water ready. He's looking around. I think he's talking to his production guy. But we'll bring Lance on in a few minutes if our next guest isn't ready to rock here in just a few seconds. We can do a little bit of housekeeping here, talk about some of our prizes. We're talking about giving away that swag. Let's talk about that again, Trevor. So if you ask a great question and one of us chooses that as the question of the segment, we're going to give you a little prize pack. It's going to be a Fish Hawk hat. We've got the towel, and keep those hands clean while you're in the boat. And we've got an awesome sticker package. So make sure that you're asking questions all the time throughout the show. This is kind of a give and take. And I see one guy sent us a question. We're going to be deleting that one, but nice try. I really appreciate you trying to do that. That was the cool thing about the old public access shows, when people would call in. You would get maybe some off-color calls once in a while, and one of our friends used to host a show like that, and he loved it when people did that, but we don't so much. So good try with that one. But let's talk about the last few winners. So for the Loadmaster segment, it's going to be Jimmy Sachs. For the Lawrence segment, it's going to be Brian Nichols. And the Lake Michigan Tournament Trail, Josh Compost. So go ahead and send us some private messages. Again, we're not going to be able to answer them today. We're doing the show, but we'll get your prize packages shipped out early next week. Get that stuff shipped out to you. Lance, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go. He's ready to go. So we're going to bring Lance on. He's not supposed to be on until 11:40, but I knew that he would be a guy that would love to come on a little bit early, talk some teaching fishing, and Lance is one of my favorite guys in the industry. He's a guy that surely can fill a few extra minutes if we need him to. Lance, good morning, or good afternoon in your neck of the woods.
Good to see you guys. And yeah, hey, look, I am always willing to talk fishing. So anytime you need somebody to run their mouth, I'm your guy.
Lance, tell us a little bit about what you do for people who don't know who you are. What is teaching fishing all about?
So we started about 25 years ago doing some seminars, and it started as electronics, and then it kind of morphed into actual fishing. And at that time, it became Walleye 101. And we did a lot of education, a lot of seminars. We had some booklets that we printed to go with our seminars, a lot of on the water stuff. And about 5 years ago, it transitioned because, guys wanted to learn about bass fishing and salmon fishing and steelhead fishing and everything else. So we thought, well, we really can't do Walleye 101 and teach bass fishing. So we kind of morphed into what is now teaching fishing. And basically what we're trying to do is become the premier educational platform in the fishing world. So we dig a little bit deeper. You guys have been to some of our events and you've seen what we do. We dig a little bit deeper as opposed to, me and Joe went fishing. We use a blue Rapala, so buy some blue Rapalas. We dig a lot deeper into the subject and really want guys to learn the foundation. How to be on fish, how to understand the activity level of fish, how to take everything that's around you and kind of put that into a blender and kind of mix it up and go, okay, all of these conditions tell me that I should be fishing here, fishing this way, going this fast with this type of lure, as opposed to starting at, what lure do I use? We want to give the guys the foundation to make good decisions when you're on the water.
Very cool. One of the things that I hear from you all the time, and feel free to get into this as far as you want to get into it, but you have an 8-step system as opposed to a 12-step system.
It's 4 less steps.
It's 4 less steps.
It's 4 less steps, but yeah, we teach by what we call the 8 steps, and the 8 steps are pretty simple. We list them in order of importance. So step number 7 is irrelevant unless you get 1 through 6 right, and they are: be in the right location, be in the right depth of water, know how deep the fish are so you know how deep to put your lures. That's what we call, those are the first 3. That's what we call the where. That's the important part. Then after that becomes what we call the what. That is, get lure speed right, then lure size, then lure shape, then lure action, and last, lure color. Because lure color is irrelevant if fish can't see it. It's irrelevant if it's not the right size. You're better off to be in the right place at the right depth with a completely wrong presentation. You're still going to catch some fish. If you have the right perfect presentation and you're not in the right spot or not at the right depth or not at the right speed, you're going to catch nothing. So we kind of start at the top, and as you work through your day, it's kind of start going back and, okay, we're starting to not catch fish anymore. Let's go back. Number 1, are there fish here? Are we in the right depth? Are our lures in the right place? Yep. Okay, then we start at speed and we start getting the speed right. Then once we get the speed right, lure size, lure shape, lure action, and lure color. So it's a systematic way that I kind of needed when I started teaching. To everything that we teaches slides into one of those 8 steps. And it also gives guys a way on the water to actually take information and actually use it in a way that they can actually be successful with it. So.
Yeah, very cool. One of the things that we've been talking about a little bit with you this week is, you touched on a little bit, but you shifted from the Walleye 101 name into the Teaching Fishing name. How important has that been for you guys for your growth?
That has been absolutely huge because, when you say Walleye 101, number one, you're kind of pigeonholed to a species, obviously. And when you say the 101, it's kind of a beginner. And that's kind of where we started 25 years ago. Think about how little knowledge was really out there and how much guys really didn't know. So it was perfect. Guys let me back up. Anglers, both men and women, are much more advanced now than they used to be. So it's hard to say, 101, because now guys go, well, I want to learn some advanced stuff about lead core, advanced this or advanced that, so I can't learn it at Walleye 101. So teaching fishing really became And it actually started, our tagline at Walleye 101 was teaching fishing, that's our mission. So it was very easy to make that transition into teaching fishing because we kind of already used that a little bit, and it allows us to really kind of go from the beginning to the most advanced stuff we can teach in any species on any body of water.
Very cool. One of the things that we wanted to congratulate you on, which we talked about a little bit last year, but the NPAA Member of the Year, Lance Valentine, and tell us a little bit about how that whole thing happened.
I'll tell you what, that was, as Chevy Chase says, I wouldn't have been more surprised if I would have woke up in the morning with my head stapled to the carpet. The NPAA gives an award the National Professional Anglers Association. They give an award every year to what they call the Member of the Year, and that is the person that does the most educating, does the most to bring people to the sport, does the most to pass on what they know. And you know, in this group of anglers, if you look at the roster, it's a pretty hardcore, hard-hitting group of anglers. And to think that these guys even knew what I did was very, very humbling. And then to actually find out that they actually not only knew what I did, but they appreciated what I did and they wanted to recognize what I did. That was a pretty humbling moment. So I was very, very proud of that. We've worked very, very long, very, very hard for 25 years to make people better fishermen. And to get recognized at that level was a very, very humbling moment and accomplishment I'm very, very proud of.
It's cool because it's from your peers. I mean, that's what I think is kind of maybe even more so as these are people that do what you do, and that's, again, kudos, congrats.
Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, when you, like I said, when you look at the list of people on the MPAA, to think that number one, you know, that they even know what I do, number one, and that they appreciate it it was I was in tears. I mean, it was an amazing. It was funny. There were people around me that were my friends at the conference, and I'm actually sending out texts. And Mike Iaconelli had just done a speech, and I'm kind of talking about Mike's speech, and I'm just sending out some stuff on Facebook, and I don't even hear it, but they're doing this introduction to who the Member of the Year is, and I don't even think anything about it. And all of a sudden I hear my name. I'm like, what? And everybody's looking at me. And afterwards, I'm like, how did you guys know? They're like, did you not hear the introduction? I didn't hear any of it. They said there's no person that could have been except you. So I'm still trying to find the video of the introduction because I'd like to show it to my mom. But yeah, quite an amazing thing.
The first place I met you, Lance, was at the education weekend. And I think that's something that when I was there and saw what was going on there, I think it's an event that's super valuable. And it's something that I think if people are really planning to get serious about doing their fishing, it's something that they should really look into. Can you tell us a little bit about the education weekends? Yeah, so the fishing education weekends, I used to do a 6-week seminar series at Gander Mountains around here in Michigan, a different subject each week for 6 weeks. And after a couple of years of doing that, guys like, you know, we'd like to kind of have a test or a final exam. Okay, so we put together the trip down to Lake Erie in the fall, down here on Ohio, just east side of Sandusky. Great fishing, great fishery, big fish. So we kind of started, hey, we had our first, we actually at that time, we didn't call them fishing education weekends. We called them trophy hunts. So we were down hunting for trophy fish. And that was kind of the first one was handwritten invitations that I hand wrote to about 45 guys who'd been coming to the seminars for a couple of years and said, hey, we'd love to have you down here. We're going to go on the water. We're going to take everything we learned and go on the water and see if you guys actually learned it. And it's just evolved into this great big thing that we now call a fishing education weekend. It's 4 days. You come in Thursday. We have dinner Thursday. We have a seminar Thursday. What's going on? Where you want to fish? Some basic information. Friday morning, we meet for breakfast. We have a fishing information meeting. Everybody goes fishing and shares information, which I think what makes our events unique is everybody shares information on the water, right? So if you catch a fish, you let the whole group know instantly how deep, how fast, what color, you know, where you're fishing. So everybody can kind of get the information and kind of use that information again to make good decisions. Friday, we have dinner together. Then we have a nightly seminar, usually a guest speaker. Saturday morning starts again with breakfast and a fishing meeting at breakfast. We go fishing on the all day Saturday, sharing information. Another dinner, another special guest speaker.
on Saturday night, and Sunday we do it all over again. So it's education, it's learning, it's the ability to go on the water the next day and actually apply what you've learned, and then come back and say, okay, I got this, I got that, I don't understand this, and we can give it to you again. So it's 4 days of hardcore learning, and I think a very, very fun environment.
Yeah. Let's see, the event that I went to in Huron, kind of ties in with the last segment when Chris Milan was on with Lawrence stuff. Lance's electronic seminar is by far and away the best instructional. I learned more just listening to Lance in the classroom, and I'm supposed to be an electronics guy, right? Than I have in years using it. So, your format for all aspects, but specifically for electronics, is a very, very good format, because you're answering the questions that we have as users when we're out on the water. So that I learned it. I still, bring up my color palette and my sensitivity. It's like, okay, what would Lance have me do? I've got I actually have a few little note cards that I kept from that event. So
that's so important, because everybody wants to go fishing, especially the folks who unfortunately don't have as much opportunity to go fishing, as I do, right? So to them, every Saturday is a big deal. They've got to catch fish, right? And they always start backwards. We used to do a seminar called The Lures Last, which was actually our 8 steps. And we started with, do you get in your box and go, what am I going to use? And that's the wrong way to approach a day. If you look at our 8 steps and you follow that process, the lure you're going to use is the answer of all those 8 questions. And then you go, okay, I've got to use that lure because it's the right size, right shape, right color. I can run at the right speed and get at the right depth. That's the whole object. But if you're not, my analogy is this. I think I do it every time I do the sonar interpretation seminar. If you go hunting on opening day of deer season, and you stand in the middle of a 400-acre field that's completely plowed flat. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you in the middle of that field. I'm going to have you put a shell in your gun. I'm going to put a blindfold on you. I'm going to have you spin around in a circle, and at some point, bang, shoot. What are your chances of killing a deer, right? There's 0. But that's how everybody fishes. They drive out, they put a bunch of shit behind the boat, and they go, oh, it's not working, let's change colors. If you're not fishing where the fish are, and your lures are not at a depth where the fish can see them, everything else is irrelevant. So getting guys to understand how their sonar works, what it shows them, what it doesn't show them, and how they can use that to make good decisions. It's how we started. It's all we did for the first couple of years. And we still do that same. It's the same exact seminar it was when I started in 1997. Same exact seminar. Pictures,
which is interesting based on the fact that look how much electronics have changed from then to today.
Yep.
So
but how they work hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is the display. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't matter if it was a little spinning dial with a flasher going around, or it's now a 16-inch, multi-color screen you can watch TV on. It doesn't matter. The way sonar works and the way it shows you big fish versus small fish and hard bottom versus soft bottom and game fish versus bait fish, it doesn't matter. It's exactly the same. And I have a lot of guys who've seen that seminar 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times, and they'll come to me and they'll say, I've been watching I've seen the seminar 10 times. You never said that. I've said it every time. You just weren't ready to hear it. Because I know it's the same exact slides. Obviously I have changed pictures from black and white units to color units, and that part has changed, but the seminar is exactly the same. So it is a process, right? You're not going to go out the first day, watch a seminar and go out the first day and go, oh, I'm perfect with my sonar. That's not how it works. It is a process. The same way fishing is a process. I'm sure Dan answered some questions in his book and went, okay, here's the answer to this question, but I hope this guy asked me the first 15 questions before we actually get to this question. So those of us that teach fishing and really want people to learn, sometimes it's frustrating because folks ask a question that even if you give them the right answer, they're really not ready to apply that right answer to their fishing. So that's what we do at Teaching Fishing. Our YouTube channel specifically, we've got our video set up in our foundation series, which is all the foundations. And then we've got a couple different series that you can watch depending on where you want to go with what we're doing. And I love it. Look, I get a chance to get up every day, and I have one job. That is make somebody else a better fisherman. Come on, man. I have the best job in the world. And every once in a while, I get to go fishing about 100, 150, 160 days a year. I get to go fishing.
Oh,
too, so. But it's all in the guise of education. So
yeah, right. And deductible.
And deductible, right? But our charters are all hands-on. I like the guys that get on the boat and go, show me how you're reading your sonar. Show me how to use that fish hawk. Show me how you're setting lures. Why are you making that decision? And I talk through all my decisions. Hey, we're fishing. Hey, we're going to move. Here's where we are. Here's what we know. Here's where we're going to go, and here's why we're going there. So I talk through all my decisions with all of my customers, be it Detroit River, Saginaw Bay, Lake Erie. And I think they like that because it lets them kind of get into my head and kind of know what I'm thinking. And look, I'll be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, my first decision every day is wrong. And that's okay, because if you are working with a process, if you're fishing with a process, the 8 steps, let's say, if you're fishing with a process and you do something that doesn't work, you've just eliminated a whole lot of stuff. So you're just one step closer. So I tell people, look, there are people who are fishermen and there's people who go fishing. Big difference, right? A fisherman never gets skunked. He just runs out of time to figure out the right answer. So there's a big difference between being a fisherman and someone who goes fishing and actually having a process to kind of put your information into and make good decisions.
That's some crazy positive thinking there. Fisherman never gets skunked. I like it.
That's what my son says. We didn't lose. We just ran out of time.
Just ran out of time. And if you are working through the process, that actually is a true statement. So we like to teach guys how to think. Look at fishing. The beautiful thing about fishing, I'm a great case in point. You don't have to be fast. You don't have to be tall. You don't have to be skinny. You just have to want to do it, because it's just gathering information and making good decisions. That's all fishing is. Anybody can do it, any age, any size, any sex. It doesn't matter. You don't need a bunch of tackle to do it. You just need to put the wrong stuff in the right place. And that's kind of our whole focus at Teaching Fishing, is to teach you how to learn what the right place is faster than the other guy.
Awesome. Lance, if people want to find out more about what you got going on and how to get in touch with you and get set up with things that you guys are doing, what's the best way for somebody to reach you?
So teachingfishing.com is our website. It's kind of a static website. There is a Teaching Fishing TV channel there that we run some of our basic seminars on for people to watch for free all the time. We have articles on there. We have a resource center that has a lot of access to trip planning tools. We are big on trip planning, right? If your trip planning consists of stopping at the bait shop Saturday at 6:30 before you launch at 7 and go, what are they biting on? You've already lost. A good trip starts, Wednesday, Thursday, watching the currents, watching the water color, watching the water clarity. Where is the current pushing cold water, warm water? That's all things you can find on the internet. And we have a resource center on our website that does that. To watch and to learn, the Teaching Fishing YouTube page is great, full of stuff. And then we have our Teaching Fishing Facebook page. And one thing I'm really proud of, I'm going to sneak this in here. One thing I'm really proud of is during the pandemic, I was about ready to lose my mind, because my life focuses on talking to people in person. It's where I'm the best. It's where I feel the best. It's what I think I'm kind of called to do. And when I couldn't do that, I kind of freaked out, right? Like a lot of people, I really went nuts. So I had this little studio in my office that we were just using to make some videos. And I got on one morning on our Facebook, our Teaching Fishing Facebook page, and I called it Coffee Hour. And I got over here at 7 o'clock, and I just started talking. What's your fishing superstitions? What do you like for lunch? Do you drink coffee in the morning? It was just stupid stuff, but we did it every morning for 81 mornings in a row during the pandemic. And we would get, we were up to 400, 450 viewers a lot of days. And there were people who said, the only reason I get up every day, and this is, we started in late March, I think March 28th is when we started. There were people after the first couple of weeks is the only reason I get up every day is to watch Teaching Fishing Coffee Hour. I know it saved my life. I don't want to be too dramatic, but I guarantee you it's helped save my life. And it just opened us up to this whole new group of people that we'd never reached before. So we still do that every Monday morning at 7 a.m. It's just an informal chat about fishing. And then we do some live stuff on our Facebook page a couple times a month. And if guys really, really want the hardcore stuff, we have the Teaching Fishing Anglers Club. That is a per fee, $100 per year. But we do 3 seminars a month that dig deeper into some of the stuff we give away to the public. So lots of ways to get a hold of us. The Teaching Fishing Facebook page is the best way to kind of start and go from there. And we really would love guys to visit the Teaching Fishing YouTube page and watch some of our stuff. Let us know what you think. Subscribe. We really would like that because we're building content. You know, now that we know we're not going to be able to go back and see people in person for a while, we're really excited about, actually, as soon as I'm done with you, I've got 4 hours of content laid out here that I'll be shooting today. So it's not the same as being able to see people, but it is very, very rewarding to be able to actually use this type of format. And what you guys are doing is awesome, to use this type of format to actually stay in touch with the people that give me a reason to get up every day and have given me a way to make a living doing what I love to do.
Lemonades out of lemons.
Lemonades out of lemons.
Yeah.
Lance, really appreciate you coming on. Have a great rest of your day Saturday. Hope you guys have a very productive day as you start getting going. And thanks so much for stepping in there early for us. And have a great afternoon.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate what you're doing. This is an awesome idea. I hope it, even if we get back to show seasons, I hope you continue to do this, because I think it gives people I think it gives people from different parts of the country and different people that can't come to one show and see all these people at one time.
It's mostly fun so far.
It's been mostly fun.
Mostly fun.
All right, guys. Thank you so
care,
much
Lance.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Lance.
Thank you. All right. Our next guest is ready in the green room, ready to rock. Let's bring him out. It's Captain Greg Yarborough from Starcraft Boats. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be on board. It's been a great show so far.
Thank you. We've seen you in the comments. We know you've been on and watching, so really appreciate that as well. And just
sorry about the
thank you for
login
coming on today.
Okay, so I have you did a nice job putting some talking points together for us, but I've got one like right out of the gate, right? So this is the question: Are we seeing live questions still or not?
I don't. For some reason, I don't know if people stopped asking them. We had a little hiccup. We had to delete some stuff, and it may have disconnected. I've been trying to keep an eye on it on my phone, but
are they asking on the phone still?
I don't think we've had any questions lately. So
okay, so it's live. Anyway, okay, so here's my question, Greg. Got on the Starcraft website. Very interested in yard blow ventilation. Is that a coincidence that you are Captain Greg Yarborough and there's yard blow ventilation? Coincidence or not?
Not. It was something that I had pushed pretty hard for over the years, and our president and owner of the company decided to strategically name it Yarborough.
Yes, I got it right.
So no, I appreciate it. I was just happy to see it available in the boats, and it is a really nice feature because it does help eliminate any kind of mildew or molding if you put your equipment away, being rods and reels, tackle, anything like that, life jackets that are somewhat damp or wet. I mean, it really does. You know, it runs on a system when you plug in at night, and it runs continuously for 1 minute, off 3, and then it starts up again. And it's got our blowers, 3 different blowers in the 2 side compartments going all the way through, and then one in the bottom of the boat as well. So it's really a nice system.
Yeah, it's a super legit feature. I just saw the name. I'm like, that can't be coincidence. So okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail you. I'll let you kind of start with the notes that you had kind of presented. So
no, thanks again for having us on today. And I figured we don't have a lot of time, but we'll talk about some of our big water boats that Starcraft offers, and just a little bit of history about the company. Starcraft Marine was founded in 1903. We're a 5th generation family. We're based out of New Paris, Indiana. We got a little over 750 employees, and our campus is about a little over 600,000 square feet. So we got a big facility, and it's pretty neat, the history of the company, and to be there and see, you know, some of the employees that have been with us for literally decades. I mean, as much as 50 years plus. It's a pretty neat thing, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Whoop. I can't hear you there, Trevor. You still there?
There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's definitely unique in this time and space. And do you see what we see in the boating market as far? I mean, our business has shifted tremendously to trailer boats. I mean, which obviously is what Starcraft builds. I mean, what are the trends kind of as far as big water trailer boats, big water aluminum boats go right now? Because I know you guys have, I mean, starting in the Fishmaster series has been around a long time, the STX, you know, I mean, what's happening right now within the boat industry? Everybody's hearing the buzz, you know, boats are hard to get. I mean, what's the real deal, I guess?
Well, there's truth to that. I mean, it's definitely tough to get product right now. You know, the supply chain has been a little tough getting materials and components and things like that. But, you know, fortunately, we planned well in advance, and, you know, we continue to have a pretty good selection of models available that we can sell to our dealer network, and in turn sell retail as well. So, again, going back to the trailering boats, we're seeing a lot of that. I live in Port Clinton, Ohio, right here on Lake Erie, and over the years, we've had a lot of guys, charter captains and recreational fishermen both, kind of downsize from some of their bigger traditional glass style boats in that, you know, 24 to 28 foot range, and go to something like the Fishmaster 196 or Fishmaster 210 DC series, because it is a big water boat. When the salmon bites going in Lake Michigan or Lake Ontario, or the steelhead fire up in the central basin of Lake Erie, I mean, that's a boat they can take port to port via trailer, rather than, you know, moving down the shoreline or having to make a big, you know, lengthy trip in your boat that you're docking port to port. So we've seen a transition of that. A lot of guys going to that style boat.
Right. We're seeing a bunch of questions popping up, and I knew this was going to come up. You know, bring back the Islanders. I knew that was going to come. I'm like, oh, this one's coming. I know it is. So
yeah, we get a lot of requests for the Islander. You know, obviously we haven't had boat shows since last March, but that's one of the top questions we hear at our dealers' booths with that are stocking the fishing boats. When are you going to bring back the Islander? And, you know, it's you do see a lot of them at all the ports along Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, you know, even out in Lake Ontario quite a bit, and the salmon fishermen. That was a popular boat for years. But it's, you know, the Fishmaster is definitely taken over there, and that's been our number one Great Lake style boat. It's a very deep boat. It's got a 19-degree dead rise on the 196 model, which is our most popular one, but 101-inch beam, very deep boat, and it'll handle pretty much any element you put at it on Lake Erie. We've got a lot of charter captains running that boat now, and quite a few of my pro staff as well.
And what are they powering? What do those power with, Greg?
The 196 can go up to a 200 horsepower, and the 210 Fishmaster can go up to 250 horsepower.
Okay.
If people are out looking for a boat to do this, let's say it's somebody who's been fishing inland with the bass style boat, and they're looking to get out into the Great Lakes, and they're looking to get started in this, what should they start looking for when they're shopping for boats? What are some things that they should be keeping an eye on as they're looking at different boats?
So, I mean, if they've primarily been fishing inland lakes, rivers, reservoirs, things like that, and they're getting to that point where they want to start branching out and fishing some Great Lakes, yet still be able to fish bodies of water like those smaller inland lakes, reservoirs, rivers, things like that, We've got a couple new models in the StarCraft Storm series that are available in 16 and 17 foot tiller, side console, and dual console, both in like family fish configurations and in pro fish configurations. And then moving up from there, we've got our new series, the Delta series, we released last year, and that's available in 17 and 18 foot. And just a beautiful boat, 96-inch beam on it. It can handle up to 175 horsepower, and it, most days on the Great Lakes, if I'm fishing 3 foot or less, I have no problem taking that boat out there. But if I'm out, 15 miles offshore and, a storm blows up, I'm very confident that I'm going to be just fine getting back, as long as you run the boat like you should and take your time and not try to push it.
I think that's one thing that we see. We've got access. Certainly cell phones contribute to this. When you have signal, but the reality is for somebody running an 18 or a 20 foot aluminum boat. The days that you can fish with that boat are you definitely pick your days. But if you have 5 footers, it's no fun to fish in a 30 foot boat either.
That's right. That's right.
Are realizing is that you don't have to have a 32-foot cruiser to fish on the Great Lakes. And that's what's driving our business. And, StarCraft has been really one of the leaders in that, in building really seaworthy trailerable boats that'll fit in a guy's garage. I mean, that's the other part of it,
Absolutely. No, it's we definitely have the breadth and the model selection, to pretty much handle anybody's needs, what they're doing, whether it's inland rivers or Great Lake style fishing, big water, even Lake of the Woods, things like that. And we even have some guys out in the Northeast in that territory, up in Maine and New Hampshire and Massachusetts. I mean, they're running out to some of the canyons tuna fishing in like the Fishmaster series, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, that's something you don't hear.
Yeah, in saltwater even. Wow. Yeah, cool. For sure.
What are some options that people should be looking at when they're shopping? What are some things that they should be looking for and just keep an eye on, and maybe go into that decision-making process as they're shopping for a boat?
Some of the things that we weigh pretty heavy on, I mean, we're a one-piece hull design on the StarCraft, so we don't have to join pieces together at the bottom. We start with a one-piece bottom. We've got a reverse chine on both sides that's very aggressive. And that chine runs from the back of the boat all the way up to the bow. It doesn't stop a third of the way up. So with that being said, we don't have to attach a riveted spray rail on the side. So aesthetically, it gives it a really nice, clean look, almost the look of glass from the side, but it pushes that water down and out, getting the boat out of the water quickly with a high dry ride, which is really nice. And then, one of the other things we're really proud of, I mean, we do offer the strongest warranty in the business for fishing boats. We are limited, our lifetime warranty on the hull for all main seam rivets, and then anything horizontal surfaces on the floor, transom, lifetime for original owner, and then anything inside the boat, stem to stern, starting with your floor covering, seats, gauges, switches, canvas, all the way down to your stereo, is a 6-year stem to stern warranty, 100% manufacturer. So it's a very solid warranty, and that's something our dealers push, and the customers really appreciate that. We've been around a long time, since 1903, and we've got a good track record, and that's something we're very proud of, and we'll put our name on it.
Greg, we got a question come in from YouTube from Sean Burr. He wants to know if the 17 and 18-foot boats have dry storage.
The new Deltas have a lip on them that helps it. The problem with aluminum boats, when you say 100% dry storage, it's tough to do like a glass boat that does a molded ring around it. So what we have to do, all aluminum manufacturers, they have to put a, turned lip up on that compartment, and then we put a rubber seal around it. So that definitely helps, but it's really hard on an aluminum boat to say you have 100% quote unquote dry storage.
Greg, is there something that we didn't ask you about that you wanted to bring up today?
One other boat that we're, is kind of one of our flagship models that's very popular on the Great Lakes and across the tournament trail has been the STX 2050. That's the style boat I run personally. Again, great big water boat, 19-degree dead rise at transom, 101 inches wide, 54-inch live well, 31 gallons. So it's huge. If you want to get a nice photo fish with a muskie and then revive them and let it release them. I mean, that 54-inch live well is nice. Starting to get a lot of guys in the catfish market that are looking at that model and buying it too. So it's pretty exciting to see it evolve as more of a multi-species Great Lakes boat, but starting to hit other markets like, Texas and California and the East Coast and Southeast. I mean, we're selling them for striper guides and catfish guides, and so it's pretty neat to see the traction that boat's gained since we released it.
Very cool, Greg. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. If people want to find out more about Starcraft boats, where's the best place for them to go? www.starcraftmarine.com or www.bestboatbrands.com. Those are two web accesses you can get into easily. Cool. Got a lot of good fans coming on. We've got Scott 6700 on YouTube just said Fishmaster is an awesome boat for sure. And Philip Jackson on Facebook just said is STX 2050 the best on the water. So you got some fans out there that are excited about getting on the water, and with things starting to warm up, it won't be long before the whole fleet will be out on the water.
Yeah, they're actually I just drove down to the ramp this morning here at Catawba on Lake Erie, and ice is out and guys are going out already. So you're going to see a lot of big walleye pics in the next few weeks here on Facebook. Keep your eyes open.
Can't come soon enough.
Yep. I just wanted to say too, I'd like to wish everybody a great fishing season ahead. Stay safe, have fun, and get some kids on the water. That's what it's all about. That's where it starts, and that's where the dream begins.
Rock on.
Excellent. Thank you, Captain Greg Yarborough. Have a great rest of your Saturday. We appreciate you coming on the show.
You do the same. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Well, that's it. First segment's in the books. I think I saw the lady with the sandwich cart, the $13 sandwiches, walking around over there.
that's an homage to show, isn't it?
That's my homage. Yes.
Well, I see there's a line at the bathroom as well, so I'm gonna get in line real quick. So
yeah. So we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna be back at 2:00 Eastern, 1:00 Central. We're gonna have a little timeout here to kind of get things back going with the show, but we will see you back here in just a little while, and we've got a great lineup of folks coming on after the break. So thanks so much for everybody joining the show, everybody watching, enjoying. Awesome. It's been really cool to have everybody on board, and we will see you in just a little bit.